G'day and welcome to On The Esky, an Australian sports podcast, where we like to wrap up the week that was in the wild world of sport, drink a few Jack Super Crisps, and dribble on about the big stories that occurred. Today's show, we'll chat some cricket. Australia and Sri Lanka, we've lost the ODI series with the tests upcoming. Another good game in progress between England and New Zealand. Wrap up the week in the AFL, back to 9 games, bye rounds are over, so a bit more footy. There's been a bit of a quiet week in the NRL with all the clubs on their bye, but a massive Game 2, State of Origin tonight over in Perth. Must win for the Blues to avoid a dead rubber. And also some internationals yesterday. We'll touch on those. The NBA draft happened during the week. Aussie Dyson Daniels getting picked up with the 8th overall pick. There's been some big name transfers over in the round ball in Europe. Plus a final round. We'll preview next week's UFC 276, a huge card, one of the bigger cards in recent memory. Wrap up the week that was in the F1 and golf and dribble on about nothing. We do have timestamps if you're watching the podcast and want to skip to the sports that you like. Please feel free to do that, or if you're an absolute nuffy, just listen to the whole damn thing. We do have clips as well that you can check out, and we're getting the socials going back again. Monks has been busy, editing and doing stuff that I've got no idea how to do. So getting that rolling. Now we like to shout a beer to start the show off to commend someone or a team or something in their good work during the week in the sporting arena. Monks, I'll throw it over to you. Who are you shouting a beer this week?
Probably a little bit of a feel-good story here. So Lauren Jackson of Australian Basketball Hall of Fame pedigree is back in international basketball.
9 years after. That is crazy.
Yeah, 9 years after retiring. She's back in the Opal squad. Probably not sure what her role will be moving forward, considering her age and how she'll go with the World Championship towards the end of the year. But I think it'll be good for the team, that mentorship sort of role. Obviously, with all the news from the Olympics last year, Liz Cambridge and all that stuff's probably good to have someone in the team that can sort of help them steady the ship. The
age is an interesting one. I just had to double check. 41.
41, yeah.
41.
Been to 4 Olympic Games. 3 World Championships as well. Just obviously part of Australia's Basketball Hall of Fame as well. Just crazy. And
Olympic silver medalist, I think.
There was 3 silvers and a bronze.
3 times silver. There you go. I do wonder if she has sat back and watched what unfolded in Tokyo occur and go, that wouldn't happen under my leadership. And has maybe spoken with the Opals and said, I don't need to be playing big minutes. You can't imagine a 41-year-old would be, but maybe someone there for a little bit of veteran mentorship and a good attitude, perhaps.
I mean, she did retire with bad knees and stuff back when she retired.
It's a long time out.
Yeah, a lot of bad everything.
When you hear about people coming back from, having 2 years off, you wonder, Clay Thompson, for example, we're wondering how his body would hold up after 2 years on the sidelines. 9 years. Be interesting to see what she can do with the basketball in her hand. But probably more of a team sort of chemistry, mentorship kind of role, you'd imagine?
Yeah, I think so, yeah. See how it goes.
Good on her. I did say that during the week and I was like, that's a blast from the past. Lauren Jackson, jeez. Yeah, I didn't realise it had been quite that long, but wishing her all the best. And she's got a beer courtesy of Monks on the Esky to celebrate.
Yeah.
Shauno, you going Denver theme?
Yes, well, I'm shouting out NBA draft mums. So Dyson Daniels' mum and Christian Braun's mum. We'll shout a beer out to you the lovely ladies, for your work over
maybe a nice Chardonnay or something.
Yes.
Cosmopolitan.
Braun, of course, from Denver, and that was going to be my segue into Abs chat for this week to follow up how we've been going in the Stanley Cup, currently at 3-2. We had talked about the sweep potential after they were...
Started 2-zip.
Yeah, started to and dominated game 2. Then they got pumped in game 3 for the Lightning. I think that was like 6-2 final score on that. They played overtime in the 4th, came from behind Avs to get a win in that one, and then lost yesterday at home to the Lightning to make the series 3-2. Game 6 tomorrow. So
Game 6, baby.
Yeah, I don't want to...
Lauren Jackson, Tyson, Jordan, Game 6.
Yeah, so we put the curse on them with the sweep, and they're still in the hunt. But the Lightning have kind of after that shit pumping have turned it on a little bit.
It's theirs to lose. They're up 3-1. If they were to lose tomorrow, geez, you'd think all the momentum going towards Tampa Bay.
Yeah,
it is
tied it up.
It is
Game 7 would be in Colorado.
Tomorrow's in Florida.
Yep.
So maybe they'll go like the Warriors and win Game 6 away. Is that maybe a little omen?
Yes. I did have a look at the stats. So in Game 5 for the away team to win, and then make it the same record like that, 3-2, they have, I think it was like a 20% chance of winning in Game 7, so winning championship. And then having a look at, so if the Lightning.
The Rays are in
baseball. Yeah.
Get there eventually. Jeez, I've done it again.
Tampa Bay Lightning. This is why we love talking about ice hockey.
I know, right? Yeah.
Well, he's talking about baseball. I don't know.
Jeez, yeah. Lightning have like a 60% chance of winning away in Game 7. So the odds are pretty slim for them if you add them together. So, but interesting to see.
Stranger things have happened.
Well, a tight title chase, big championship with going to Game 6. It'll be interesting to see how that finishes up from one of the big 4 of the American leagues finishing up this season.
Well, enjoy your beer courtesy of Sean on the Esky at the Avalanche at Hot Mums of Basketball. It's pretty funny when a few mums are stealing the Twitterverse show when their sons are it's the biggest day of their life.
True.
But yeah,
I think it was more a confirmation for us as well. It's just like, wow, we're getting old.
We're getting old.
The MILFs, that's our category now. So
it's always been my category, bro. We will talk NBA draft in the basketball section, and maybe
less dribble.
Limit the pornography references.
Perhaps your shout a beer?
I'll shout a beer. I'm shouting out 4 to the mixed relay team for the Aussies at the Swimming World Championships, currently underway in Budapest, Hungary. The Aussies have been sort of backing up their good work in the pool from Tokyo, but a world record always, I think, is deserving of a shout of beer. So the mixed relay, they've got a mixed relay medley where they all swim different strokes. This was the freestyle one. So 2 blokes, 2 girls out there swimming 100 metres freestyle as quick as you can. They go by the names of Jack Cartwright, Carl Chalmers, most people are familiar with him, Maddie Wilson and Molly O'Callaghan. They shaved 2 hundredths of a second off the world record that did belong to the United States. So always good breaking a world record, even sweeter when you take it off the Yanks in the pool.
Beautiful, definitely.
And it's a little bit of a precursor, I suppose, of things to come. Commonwealth Games upcoming, so we'll see a lot of them in action there. They'll probably dominate in the pool there. Obviously, you've got Canada and you Great Britain countries to compete against there, but no, Europeans, Americans, or Japanese or Chinese. But yeah, good to see some new names as well coming through, and for the Dolphins, the Aussie swim team, for them moving forward. Mop of the week.
Yes.
We didn't have one.
I've got one I can throw right here.
Yeah.
Yes.
Go
off the top of the head. Some mop behaviour. The Collingwood Pies, the football club. The handling of Degoe during the week.
And of Jack Ginnivan and Isaac Quaynor.
Yes.
They essentially looked like they were reading off teleprompters in their apologies.
Maybe not the best PR person this week.
It was well written.
Yeah, okay, it was well written.
It was well written. Maybe not the best acting.
Yes.
Acting. But the thing is, they shouldn't be acting, I don't think.
Yeah.
So Quaynor and Ginnivan in trouble, apparently, from the media, the mainstream media, for rating girls on TikTok. Now, what they were doing is, they weren't even rating certain girls. What they were saying was, would you if she's a 7, but she's got
which is a meme at the moment it's viral through TikTok.
It started by girls.
Yeah, exactly.
It started by girls, and their girlfriends were in the room at the same time. Look, maybe not the best timing with the goalie kind of fiasco.
What hurt them.
And we spoke about it in our video last week, and you can check that out in the clips. We thought this sort of witch hunting of Degoe, maybe not that warranted. Although I hadn't seen the video last week.
The treatment of the women is where they come from.
The pulling down of the bra, Janet Jackson style, going back to a Super Bowl of old. But she also came out and said it was fine. Like, I didn't have any problem with it. We're just having fun, yada, yada,
exactly.
yada.
Why was she in Bali?
And then, exactly. She's a bit of a big-chested broad herself, trying to get...
With the football lads, what do you expect?
Yeah, exactly. Getting a few Insta followers. Good on her. The world needs women like that.
Yes.
Thought I'm moving away from the milk chat. Anyways.
We might need some PR people to write you a statement over that one.
Yeah, geez. I respect women, yada, yada, yada. Better be a father. Shout out to the wife. I've got a little Sarah tidbit for you later, actually. She said something quite funny, I thought. Anyways, back to Degoe. We were quite, firm in our statements last week saying, it's not like the New York incident where he's been arrested and gotten in trouble and, with the police, and it was, groping of a woman without consent. He does have priors. The media likes to have, villains and the rest of it. I don't know. He just needs to not put himself in those situations. And the Quain or Ginnivan stuff, there is nothing. There's
nothing there.
Absolutely
it was
nothing.
Just timing there. So it was just the poor timing with the other stuff that happened to Degoe.
Yeah, sure.
Who's now on personal leave. The Pies have pulled his potential contract extension, which was
like $3 million over 4 years or something.
Yep.
So
over $3 million. So
so it's obviously had ramifications for his career, which is a shame because he's a really good footy player. So hopefully he can get that the party sort of boy moniker past him and sort of revive his career.
But then you see Bailey Smith has gotten, basically just slid under the rug, and he was back at the club yesterday. He was in the sheds. They're showing him. He's getting around the boys, etc. They're not the same precedent. It was like, oh, why is he? Yeah, where's his statement?
Well, he did make a statement. He did make a statement, and he also had sort of been playing the mental health card and was saying that he was a little bit upset after the grand final loss. But I don't know. I think
Degoe did the same thing.
It's all just, I don't know. It's just media beat up.
Exactly.
We're fucking talking about it when the's been some good games.
Well, this is why I put it in the mop of the week, because I think it's it's
the mainstream media. They can get the mop.
Yeah, the mop. The whole making a bigger story than it probably needs to be. Let's get back to footy.
Indeed. On that note, let's get back to cricket. Let's talk some cricket. Now, last week when we last recorded, when we last spoke about this series, it was one apiece, Australia, Sri Lanka. We kind of thought, good on you, Sri Lanka, for taking a game. I didn't expect us to lose many games, let alone lose the whole series, which is what's happened.
Had to run some reinforcements out though. So.
Yeah. Like looking at the team, obviously quite marred by injury. It's about half of those guys in that team would normally be in a full strength Australia side.
I think I saw through in the week. I think it was Maxwell. Was it? They ran him out, flew him over because they were a bit light on for extra batters. I don't think he was in the initial squad in the first couple of games.
He didn't play in the T20s.
Maybe that was it.
But I think he's played every ODI. Okay, I can chase that up for you because he just got married.
Maybe that was a chat.
But I'm pretty sure he's played all the ODIs. I do have the stats here. Yeah, he played all 5 and was our top scorer.
There you go.
But yeah, the likes of Stoinis and Agar, Smith. I don't know if he got hurt or what the go was with him.
I think the bowlers are probably the most impacted.
Yeah, indeed. Anyway, so let's quickly talk about the few games and then talk about the series as a whole. Sri Lanka won game 3 by 6 wickets, 9 balls to spare. We actually made a pretty good score, 291. Travis Head top scoring with 70, not striking at 108 there. Finch in the runs, good to see that, although we'll talk about what happened later in the week in a sec. He had 62. Jeffrey Vanessay, the best for the Sri Lankan bowlers, with 3 for 49. And then the Sri Lankans went out and Pathum Nissanka put on an absolute clinic, opening the batting, 137 off 147 balls. Good to see Dick Weller back in the team. He had been running with the Sri Lanka A side that was playing the Oz A side. I've always loved to get a little bit of Dick Weller in there. If the Indians didn't play this week, we can't talk about hard Dick. At least we can talk about Dick Weller. And Kusal Mendes, who top scored for the Sri Lankans in the whole series, he had 87. Not in this one, and they never really looked like missing out, and they got the job done. Game 4, the best game of the series in terms of going down to the wire, in terms of the neutral viewer. But a little bit heartbreaking as Aussie fans, but it was the game that Sri Lanka sealed the deal with the series win. They went out and made 258. Charith Asalanka 110. Dhananjaya De Silva 60. Not the Aussies kind of shared the wickets. And we got off to a very ordinary start with Finchy doing a classic Aaron Finch dismissal of late. Trying to play sort of an in-swinger. This was from Karunaratne, who's a right arm bowler. He was struggling a lot with the lefties in the IPL, and just sort of swung in a little bit late. Was trying to sort of hit it through mid-on, missed it all, and caught him on the pad. Plum LBW. The middle order didn't get going. 20 odd from Marsh and Carey and Head. And, we couldn't chase down 258, just falling agonisingly short. It was Pat Cummins as well. He had 35 off 43, trying to get us home, as he did with the bat a few times in the IPL, but just couldn't do it. And it's the spinners that were causing us grief. For the Sri Lankans, they had a mixed bag.
In Sri Lanka, it should be expected.
Of course. And
I was just going to ask you on Finchy with his troubles, because my understanding is it's his lead leg. Well, of course, it's his leg, but he gets in trouble with planting and not moving the feet.
It's like it's his front. Yeah, so he's getting caught on his front pad a lot and
like
getting an LBW.
He takes that big step and then just plants it, and then.
But I don't know if it's
a technique thing. Or?
No, I don't think it's his technique. I think it's his hand-eye maybe just slowing a little bit. I think back in the day, he hits that through mid-on, wide mid-on, and it goes for 4, and everyone's like, how good's Aaron Finch? I just don't know if it's an age thing and the hand-eye's getting. I don't think it's a technique thing.
They're so consistent in the way they get him out. That's obviously a plan that they've kind of seen the floor that they set him up. They bring him, try to get him on that front foot. He gets used to planting that front foot, and then they hit him with that in swinger. And it's
interesting because it used to be a strength of his. He was playing off his pads, playing on those front foot driving shots. And it's been really over the last 18 months his undoing. He did make a duck as well in Game 5, the dead rubber, which Australia won to make the game 3-2. Sri Lanka only made 160. We chased it down off the back of an Alex Carey 45. It's troubling. I can get you his series numbers here. So that 62 in Game 3 was his best score. He made
half his runs.
Just 120 runs at an average of 24 through the series. We've spoken a lot about him on the podcast. Again, probably sound like a broken record. I think he's got the backing of Cricket Australia for this 2020 World Cup, and then it'll be an assessment after that, I believe. Although with the carousel of Test captains getting the axe recently, I wonder if Australia follows suit with our ODI captain. In the last 12 months we've seen the demise of Tim Payne, of Virat Kohli, of Joe Root, Justin Langer. If you want to throw a coach in there, would Cricket Australia say, "Yep, we've got you back, we've got you back, we've got you back"? Oh, by the way, Aaron Finch remarkably dropped before the World Cup. It wouldn't surprise me. It wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah, I mean,
because we've been thinking about like he'll get to the World Cup, but you're gonna have some result in the games you're playing.
His form doesn't warrant selection in either of the white ball teams, he's the skipper of both.
Yes.
Yeah. So and again, when guys like I think he might be second all time for T20 internationals for Australia.
Yeah, well, he's in the all-decade team. So
exactly, and people forget how good he was 2 or 3 years ago. It's reminiscent of the end of Ricky Ponting's career. Yeah. When guys are just a little bit old, a little bit washed up. Some might say coming from guys that couldn't fucking get it off the square in a third grade fucking game.
Yeah, but I think we talked about it in the rugby league section last week. Was we're not getting 2015 Finch. It's 2022 Finch. Is that warranted for, what he's done in that previous decade warrant enough to keep him in the squad for selection considering his last 18 months has been pretty ordinary by his lofty standards.
I wonder how much of it comes down to the support of the boys as well. Like obviously with Langer, he'd lost the shed, and the players were unhappy. And I think if you've got 10 guys that are unhappy, then that's probably going to be the final nail in the coffin.
Yeah, it'd have to be the makeup of the squad, because yes, he's going to be your veteran leader. That's why he's there. He's the captain. But then if you've got
you can
Warner,
get that from
Smith,
Warner, you can get that from Smith.
Yeah, going into the World Cup, all those guys that have probably played a fuckload of tests themselves have played a lot of cricket. And are leaders within that squad.
Yeah,
do you need a Finch to feel is that his role? If that's his sole, capability that he's giving to the team, then it looks like there's others that are feeling that need. So we really need an opening batsman that's going to score us some good runs.
And when we this is obviously an ODI series. We're comparing ODI with T20 cricket. Would some of these guys I don't know if Steve Smith's in our best 11 for T20 cricket.
Yeah.
Warner,
I'm just trying to think of who was in the World Cup squad a year ago. So
that's right. Well, Smith played nearly all of those games,
yes,
but you've got guys like a Ben McDermott that has played unreal in the last few big bashes. I wonder if Tim David is trying to get into this Australian side for the World Cup. Mitch Marsh picks himself.
Yeah, well, that's
I think in the top order there
is whether you wanted some more of those young guys in that squad at all. Whether they've come on enough that you want to include them. That you don't need a Finch to the veteran like that. And the direct comparison is if you do have Warner in that squad, yes, he won't be allowed to captain anything, but he still has that voice and gets runs. He's probably the equivalent in my mind of a Finch in that squad already.
I also saw, and I don't know how much of this is clickbait, an article saying that Cricket Australia might be reviewing Warner's ability to captain teams. So if that happens, then I think that might be writing on the wall for
you've got a ready-made direct replacement. And then you do bring a young fella like McDermott or Philippi or something like that as your extra opener. Matt Maxwell, you've got options. You've got options in that regard. Yep.
Shout out to Ricken, and nice to have you here. Comparing Owen Morgan to Finchy, it's exactly the same. Morgan has not done anything in the white ball format for quite some time, and he's there. He's akin to Aaron Finch in that he doesn't play Test match cricket. He's there as their white ball leader.
As a comparison, they've got Butler there as well. He's killing it.
Yeah, exactly. So there's a ready-made replacement, perhaps, in Joss Butler. Although Butler, I don't think has captained. I don't know about in county cricket, but I don't think he definitely hasn't captained, IPL or anything. But yeah,
both those squads, I think, they do need to make another. Well, the English squad I think is really good actually. The Australian squad I think needs to do something to stay pace with the English squad, with the Indian squad, with the Pakistani squad going into this, because they're the big four, let's say, for that World Cup going in.
Yeah, probably hard to see anyone outside of. Well, actually, no. T20 cricket, like South Africa, New Zealand could. But you remember before the last World Cup when we got dished by Bangladesh, we got dished by West Indies in those away tours, and we weren't a similar kind of thing. We weren't quite full strength, and everyone was thinking, "Oh no, we're going to go to this World Cup and get dicked and the rest of it." And we were looking at the odds, and we're like, "Oh, we're third favourite. That's a blow up." And then they go out and win the whole thing. Yeah. So I don't know.
Just look at the IPL and the Titans winning the comp first time in there. So it's
we can
anything can happen.
We can discuss this team to death and Aaron Finch to death. But it will be interesting. The bloke needs to make some runs, and I've been sort of critical of the critics. I think there was a time maybe a few months ago where I was like, "Shut up! He's done so much for Australia. Leave him alone. Doesn't matter, etc., etc." But now I'm starting to think, "Oh God, this is a long time now in this form slump."
Yeah, there's a few of them doing it as well. Not to bring Coley's name up, but
interesting world that we live in. We spoke last week about Joe Root, and who would have thought 2 years ago that he would have caught up to Coley, Smith, and Williamson.
Is that the segue?
Let's segue over to England and New Zealand. But yeah, obviously Joe Root,
Catching up and taking the lead.
Been killing it over the last few years. And England in this third test haven't had to rely on him to save their ass. It's another man, Johnny Bairstow. But let's start with the first innings. So New Zealand went out and made 329 at Headingley there. Australia, Headingley, love thinking about it. And they got off to a pretty ordinary start, losing Tom Latham early. Kane Williamson back in the side. Good for them. He only managed 31.
Did you see Stuart Broad setting him up for this as well?
No.
Just
textbook Broad.
Line, one in, back in, and then the one away got him.
Yeah, so, and snicked him up through to Ben Folkes. That was the caveat that we had in those first two tests. Yes, they've won. They weren't convincingly. New Zealand without their best stick, and he's back in the side. But talking of best sticks, Daryl Mitchell, they're batting 6, 109. That's 3 tons on the trot for him in this series. He's in an absolute purple patch, and got a little bit of help from Tom Blundell in the first innings. We'll talk about the current innings in just a second. England.
Sorry, just quickly back on Daryl Mitchell. Do you know the last time that someone hit 3 centuries in the first 3 games of the series?
Ooh, Steve Smith?
Nope.
Hasn't done it?
No.
Bradman. Pretty handy.
It's been a while.
To be in there. Yeah, wow.
92 odd years, I think it was.
That's crazy. And that's testament to how good Steve Smith is in my mind, that I thought he may have achieved it. Best since Bradman.
That's it.
Yeah, I was saying, if not Coley, then it was like, did Root have it? But no, it's even further back.
There you go, Darryl Mitchell.
Long way.
First 3 tests. First to score a century in the first 3 tests in England, Don Bradman, 1930.
Jesus Christ. But it's in England.
In England, sorry.
Okay. I'm with you. Just in England. Pretty unreal. He grew up in New Zealand, but then the family moved to Perth for quite some time, and he did his high schooling in Perth, and then I think he played WA under 19s or something like that, and then he had to have the discussion as to which country he would play for, and he chose New Zealand.
Yeah, so can he play for Perth, or is he in New Zealand? Some state of origin, Jack.
We'll get to the state of origin in a sec. I'm surprised he's not playing for fucking England, to be honest. But he's really cemented his spot, obviously, now. He'll be playing a fair bit of Test cricket. And he was a bit of a late bloomer as well. I don't think he got his Test...
Age monkey?
I don't think he debuted till he's 27, I think, something like that. And he might be about 30 now.
He's 31 years old.
31, Yep. And he's only played 30 odd.
Spring chicken.
No, he's played 11 Tests.
Yep.
So late bloomer indeed.
Yeah.
Now the current innings we'll get to in a second. England. Let's talk about England's innings. They were up shit creek without a paddle. Trent Bolt doing Trent Bolt things, hooping the ball around. Clean bowled the top 3 for England in Lees Crawley and Ollie Pope.
Guess I like it moving around in England.
Well, also maybe speaks volumes to that top 3 as well.
Yes. We talked about that last week. It was like
the English openers. Who he's going to be?
Butler, maybe.
But yeah, again, is it different? Would Butler been able to keep any of these fucking lightning bolts out?
Yes,
I don't know.
Probably not.
But the way he's seen the white ball,
yeah.
I wouldn't mind chancing my arm if I was an English selector on Josh Butler. Yeah. And then for once, Joe Root wasn't able to save them. He succumbed to Tim Southey. They were 4 for 21 after 8 overs. And then Johnny Bairstow, fat little Johnny Bairstow, poor fella, I shouldn't call him fat, slightly overweight Johnny Bairstow, goes out
Supreme athlete.
On his home turf and bashes a quicker than a run a ball 100. He makes 162. And was it Stokes that went with him? No. Was it Folkes that went with him? No. Number 8, Jamie Overton, fell just short of a ton himself. He scored 97. They put on 241 for the 7th wicket, an English record for the 7th wicket. It was about 8th all time, which is pretty amazing that there's been 8 or 7 partnerships that were better than this one. And they actually, they got 360, so they go 31 runs past New Zealand. And New Zealand currently hold a 130-odd run lead. But again, that top order showed a bit with Tom Latham making 76, Kane Williamson 48. But then not much from Young, Conway, and Nichols, and Daryl Mitchell and Tom Lundell, those guys that scored runs for him in the first innings, at the crease now. Play will start this evening, our time, on the fourth day there, and it'll be interesting to see what happens if England win this series 3-0. You know, we was talking about it last week, you know, how the morale might be building for English fans.
Big turnaround.
3-0, and if they can beat India next week, geez, a massive turnaround.
Well, that starts on the 1st, which I think, it's Friday, but it'll be Saturday for us.
Yep.
Do you want
Friday night?
Yeah, Friday night. Do you want to see if there's an Indian squad? To see what they've actually taken over there?
We must have a squad.
Why you find that
picking the 11 will be interesting.
Yeah, good chat from Ricken in the chat. Besto got back-to-back hundreds with a strike rate over 100 in the test so far. But their English selectors, their checklist is, it's a workout if they actually play English enough. Check to see if his great-great-great-grandfather is English. That's a good one.
That's pretty good there, Ricken. You could probably pick anyone in Australia, I'd imagine, but by that logic.
Yeah. Go back a few generations, yes.
Yeah, or South Africa, for that matter, which tends to be where they get their players from. But yeah, credit where credit's due. England, they're playing reasonable cricket. New Zealand have been sort of so close but so far in these first two tests. Whilst it is kind of a dead rubber for the series, it's still an interesting match, and it'll be an interesting finish, especially say if Mitchell and Blundell can go out and just put on another 100, and you have a lead of 230 odd, 240 odd. That's no mean feat to chase that down, and it looks like we'll get a result, barring any bad weather over there in Leeds. Squad for India: Rohit Sharma will captain. It'll be his first time as the Test skipper, so that's going to be interesting to see how Rohit goes. Ravi Ashwan, Srikar Bharat, wicket keeper, will be the backup for punt. I haven't really heard too much about him. Jasprit Bumrah, Shreyas Iyer, Ravi Jadeja, Virat Kohli, Mo Shami, Mo Siraj, Rishabh Pant, Prasidh Krishna, Cheshashwa Pujara, friend of the Esky. I love the way that he goes about his batting and boring everyone to death. No, of course. He's a bit like Kohli. He'll need some runs to sort of save his place in this English side.
Getting up there in age, and there's a lot of young fellas coming through.
Indeed, one of which is Shubman Gill, Shardul Thakur, the Lord, we are not worthy. Hanuma Vihari, Umesh Yadav, KL Rahul has withdrawn. Is he injured? See if you can find anything on that, and that will be the final.
Any surprises or big outs?
To be honest, that's my first read over it. Nothing screams at me from that. I don't know. We've got UFC on the screen at the moment, so I'm trying to go back over that squad in my head. No. Oh, thank you. No, Jadeja's there, Ashwin's there. They're bowlers. Shami, Bumrah, Yadav will
Ashwin, they've got spinners, they've got options.
Yeah, and then the top order you'd imagine is some kind of iteration of Sharma, Gill, Kohli, Pujara, Vihari Pant maybe might be their 11 come Friday. Be interesting to see.
So yes, that starts at the end of the week.
So cricket moving forward. I think the West Indies are playing. They're playing Bangladesh in the West Indies. I think they won the first test. Couldn't tell you too much about it. No. So moving forward, we've got these two test matches for Australia in Sri Lanka. So hopefully for the Aussies can get back in their winning ways. Did you got guys? We didn't mention in Game 5. There was like a sea of yellow there in Colombo, and the Sri Lankan supporters really just thanking the Australians for even touring Sri Lanka.
I think that was appreciation for being over there.
Nice to see.
So that was going to lead into my question: is the full strength Australian test team going over?
Yep, should be good to go. The Australia A game, like they've played the 2 sort of unofficial test matches as well, so they've got a massive squad over there. It will be interesting to see if anyone from that Australia A team warrants selection. No one, I don't think, really sort of stood up in those games. Scott Boland is there, so it'll be interesting to see. Given his Ashes success, will he be able to get a berth? I'd imagine not.
I think Hazelwood's just straight back in.
Yeah, I think Hazelwood on
He's
form.
healthy and form's been unreal. So.
Hazelwood on form. I think it'll be Cummins, Hazelwood, Stark, Lyon. Do they go an extra spinner?
Yes.
In Sri Lanka. Does that leave you too short with your batting?
Well, who do they have available? Because
Swepson's there, and then if they were to blood anyone, it might be Tanveer Sangha. They've got John Holland there. They've got that young Todd Murphy that played a couple games for Victoria.
I guess Agar's there, but he's not really a test spinner.
And he's hurt. I don't think he'll be available for selection.
There you
go. But yeah, I'd be surprised if they went the 2 spinners. Given Labuschagne can roll the arm over.
True, maybe a fair bit of Labuschagne.
Smudge might be able to roll the arm over.
Yeah.
So it'd be interesting to see. Australia's lost our last 3 ODI series in Asia. So lost obviously to Pakistan not long ago, and before that had lost to India. Obviously, we always talk about it, how different it is playing away, but that's something I suppose that we probably definitely were expected to beat Sri Lanka, and probably would have fancied ourselves to beat Pakistan. So maybe just something to think about. Also, Australia, we just rock up for World Cups, bro. It's up there. It's up there. 2015.
Yeah, it's training. They're just training runs.
Just sort of blooding a few guys, and they'll rock up for the World Cup. So let's hope there's nothing to be upset by. And as we found out with the T20 World Cup, maybe you don't need to look too much into these sort of one-way series away. I don't think Cricket Australia cares too much either. Obviously, they don't want to go out there and lose, but everything that surrounds Australian white ball cricket is obviously prepping for World Cups.
Did you get an answer on Rahul?
Yeah, he's out from a groin injury. And apparently he's travelling across to Germany for, I think, surgery and treatment.
Jeez,
so he's going to have to rehab over there. So.
Yeah, right. Groin.
So Gill was his replacement.
Yeah. So it'd be interesting to see if I think Gill will be the opener to go with Sharma. No one else there of note with opening the batting.
Do you think there's some pressure on Sharma, on Rohit?
In terms of performing, yeah.
On his form?
Nah.
Less his captaincy?
Nah, I don't think so. The thing with Rohit is always being able to score runs outside of India.
Yeah.
That's always been his problem. No, I don't think there's any. They've just given him the job, and when we were speaking about it, we had a podcast on who will captain India, and we thought, well, if they want to do if they do go to a guy like Rohit to unify the captaincy, it would just be for a few. He's only got a couple of years in him, and they're obviously trying to get someone ready, whether that's a Rishabh Pant or maybe even a Jasprit Bumrah.
Love some Hardik.
Yeah, or some Hardik. I don't think Hardik can.
He's got break in the squad.
I don't think he can unify. Yeah, I don't think he is even in the selectors' plans for that red ball team. Could definitely see him captaining India in a white ball sense moving forward.
So to finish up that series, because it's the end of that series, was it 2-1 or 2-2?
Oh, the India South Africa one was
no. The against England, because this is a test to finish off last year's series. I think they played 2-1 with one no result.
See if you can chase that up. I think this was meant to be the 6th test.
6th or 5th?
6th.
Maybe it's 2-2 then. It's 2 apiece.
Yeah, with a draw. Monks, you got it there.
It's the 5th test. So
5th test?
My mistake.
Yeah.
So drawn was India, England, India. So India currently leads 2-1.
Yeah.
2-1.
It's 5th test, 2-1 lead. Yeah, thanks, Ricken.
That's fucking a long time ago.
It's a long series.
Yeah.
There's a completely different English team that they're going up against. So, the English can only draw a series.
I'm just trying to think of the amount of beers that we've shouted out or drank on the Esky or names that we've fucked up since then. Jeez.
Plenty.
It's quite a few.
Yeah,
Yes,
that's it.
Yes.
some recent news. So Rohit Sharma's tested positive for COVID.
Oh, when did that come out?
This was released 4 hours ago.
4 hours ago. Hot off the press.
Yeah.
Hot off the press.
Well, do
Okay,
they have a
so-
mandatory 7 days? Because he won't be able to play.
I wonder.
Because it's within the time frame.
I don't know if other countries still doing mandatory 7-day kind of stuff.
I don't know.
Because it's meant to start Friday.
And the
Would
England
he already be over?
Yeah, I'm sure
already
that'd be
over.
there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Where he's got.
does he have mandatory, or do they just need to get a negative
Yeah. Did they just
COVID
not
test?
give
Here you
a
go.
fuck?
Breaking news on the Esky. Jeez, that's big.
Currently in isolation in team hotel and is under care.
Yeah.
The medical team.
Does it say anything about mandatories? Hard to tell.
Positive came through 3rd day playing warm-up match against Leicestershire.
So that
Hard
would
to
have been
tell.
either it would have been yesterday. It would have been part of the game, obviously.
Jeez.
That's
Okay.
big.
Well, and if he's got it, hopefully no one else in the Indian team has
Well,
got
that's
it.
why
I
I'd
suppose
say they'd have to.
That's the biggest thing, probably.
Yeah,
If
they'd have to
they're
quarantine
all
him at least.
Already over there, and
from the rest of the
So
guys.
this poor series that got canned at
Because of COVID.
at the 11th hour. Do you remember it was on the day?
Yeah,
They were,
yeah.
you know, it was
they were at the
ground and
grounds,
stuff.
in the rooms,
and
and
the dirty physio
physios.
had the COVID.
yeah, and they had to call it all off.
I can say that for listeners, don't be too upset. I'm technically going to be a physio after the world's longest university degree.
Yeah.
Okay, so
Rickon
5
says
days
exactly-
left and quarantine apparently 5 days in England. So might be good to go.
Ooh.
You know my thoughts. You know my
Be
thoughts.
fucking close.
You know my thoughts. if he has a negative test and feels okay, fucking get him out there.
Yeah. Otherwise, what? Part takes over. You don't think they could give it back to goalie?
Imagine that. Virat.
Can you just help us
Rohit's
out?
got the spicy flu. Can you just have this one? We'll just give you one more go there, lad. Also, try and score it.
for old
isn't he-
time's sake.
Yeah, for old time's sake. You know what that, Rex? That's like hooking up with your ex. Just don't do it. You just got to say goodbye. You know, you had some good times. Thanks for the memories, babe.
Was
Thanks for
Coley
the
on-
memories,
was
and I
Coley
hope
on,
I never
like-
fucking see you again.
Was Coley on like 99 wins or something?
What? No, not wins. No.
I thought he was like one away from a record as captain.
Well, it couldn't be test win. Maybe across all 3 formats.
I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, interesting.
Well, there you go. It is Virat's series.
Yeah,
so
well, yeah, maybe.
let him finish it off.
Let him finish it.
Oh, too funny.
Well, just one last time with the ex. No feelings. No feelings. And ends with tears and I still love you. I just want things to be the same as they were. Oh, how good. All right, well, breaking news here on the Esky. We'll see next week who ends up getting it.
Whether he lines up or not.
Get at us in the comments if you think Virat should step in if Rohit is no good to go. I tend to believe that if he has a negative test and feels okay, I think they'll try to get him going. Pandemic maybe is over. Who knows? What did you say? The Raiders have to beat the Newcastle Knights for the
To end COVID, yeah.
To end COVID. So it happened.
It happened, yes.
So COVID's done.
Let's hope.
Very niche reference there. Okay, let's talk some Aussie rules footy.
Yeah.
That's my siren. Okay,
That's a terrible sign. You need to work on that one.
thank you. I'll try my best.
The others are better, but that one was
I knew what he was going for.
We've got 8 things there that we could put pre-recorded sound bites on that we've been speaking about doing on this podcast since its inception.
Yeah.
88 today. 88, 2 fat ladies. Nearly 100 episodes of dribbling on the internet.
Yep.
Okay, Sean, Melbourne, Brisbane. Did you catch a little bit of this?
Yep. Unfortunately for me.
Yeah, unfortunately, Brisbane Lion fan,
Yes.
vested interest in there. But both Berry brothers.
Both, yeah. They got a game.
And they would have been fancying themselves considering Melbourne coming off 3 losses on the trot.
No Max Gawn.
No Max Gawn.
But they did get a few other guys back, I believe. So they were more healthier than they have been. Steve May was back, but yeah.
Still no Max Gawn. Like, I don't know how many ins can you have that would...
So
The thing is with Max being out, they've got probably their second ruckman in Luke Jackson would probably be a starting ruckman on about 12 AFL teams.
yeah. But having said that, Oscar did dominate. the clearances.
Yeah.
So Aussie had a big day for the Lions, but they couldn't turn it into anything.
Couldn't convert. 29 hit-outs to 18 there in the favour of Oscar McInerney, although Luke Jackson still had 21 touches and a goal.
Yeah, go have a look at Lockie Neal's stats. I think is probably what you need to find, because I think that was the story.
Hard tag.
Yeah, very hard tag.
He had 22, which is a measly effort for the man that often gets 30 plus. So that would have been.
They had a big first quarter as well, and I'd be interested to see the breakdown of those in the second, third, and fourth quarter for him. I know no Zork, no Bailey for the Lions, but I would have thought they'd do better against Melbourne. With that kind of comparison, and they needed to, I think, actually show some form against the Premier side in the competition currently.
It's been the Mickey on the Brisbane Lions for the last 3 or 4 years.
Yeah.
Everyone, says great side. Obviously have made prelim finals, haven't quite made it to the big dance yet, and that's the big question mark: is can they beat these big sides in big games?
And I think this game kind of defines. I still don't think they can win the comp.
Yeah,
I still think they lack or miss something. They are highly dependent, and they really have. Let's call it the Trinity, the triangle of Neil, McLuggage, and Lyons. And the point of that triangle is Neil. And if you take him out of it, it really breaks down all their go forward and their structures. It's the others really can't step into it because that's just the way they play, and they don't play well through the others. More as like a complete team. It's very much focused through Lockie Neal because they were playing well in that first quarter, and the hard tag, they really took Lockie out of this game, and that was basically the story. They then the rest of Brisbane looked too slow, and the D's were just way too quick for them. They looked like they were stuck in mud, and they ran all over them.
They're showing why they were the premier side. Going into the comp until about 4 weeks ago. It was all the big suspects for them. Clayton Oliver, 35. Petrarca, we had mentioned a few weeks ago on the Esky that his numbers were down a little bit. He had 31 and looked himself, I think, and the goals, 3 for Bailey Fritsch and then 2 each for Jordan Bedford, Harms and Cozzy Pickett. D's are back. What a way to bounce back and silence all the critics after losing 3 on the trot, something that they hadn't done for over 2 seasons.
Yeah, and for the Lions, it was probably one of their worst games of the season. I think they can probably say that quite confidently. Having your score almost doubled by a squad that you want to compete with and need to going forward is maybe a rude awakening that they needed.
Yep,
it's a good point in the season. They've got a lot to work on, got a lot to learn. So hopefully they can go away and take from that and hopefully push. Need to find that X, whatever that X factor that it is, to potentially win a comp.
It's a big loss as well, given the ladder at the moment. Had they gone down to Melbourne and beaten them, they would have gone equal first, at least on points, and only be separated by percentage. Friday night, the Bulldogs got off to a slow start against the Hawthorn Hawks in the first quarter, but then after that it was all one-way traffic. I think they kicked 13 in a row at one stage, which is the biggest goal-kicking run for the year. Do you guys see Aaron Norton get into a little bit of a scuffle? And they did the old jersey rip, which you see quite often in today's AFL, where you can't punch blokes in the head. So you go for a little bit of a wrestle, a little bit of jersey throwing around. And then James Sicily, who we named in our All-Australian on the Esky team a few weeks ago, courtesy of our AFL correspondent, Steamy. He took his headband.
Yeah, pulled the headband off.
It's the equivalent of getting your chain snatched in the NFL, I think. If someone gets your headband, it was pretty cheeky as well. Like Norton had already, had his jersey sort of ripped and, had half the peck hanging out. And then Sicily's just gone from behind and grabbed his headband and chucked it. Funny that we're talking about that. And
did he get a week for that? I've seen maybe it was more memes than reality.
I think it's memes.
But it's you got to get a week for that.
No, I think Norton needs to get a week and think about getting your headband snatched. He actually had himself a pretty good game. He kicked 3. I think he's 3rd currently in the Coleman race. And it was an interesting point as well from that All-Australian team. We did have Josh Dunkley on the bench, but no Jack McRae. So a few of the listeners were saying, Jack McRae, a little bit stiff. He had 31 disposals, I believe his 100th game with 30 or more. Libba, also pretty good. He had 30 and a goal. The Western Bulldogs are starting to look like the Western Bulldogs of last year. And we spoke about it last week. Did Bailey Smith's absence...
I was going to ask you the same thing. Two
weeks in a row. 2 weeks in a row that they've had wins. Look, Hawthorn improved, but they're not exactly a massive scalp. And GWS, the same. They're both sort of, tier 3 kind of clubs. They're not North or West Coast. Yeah, but they're not also.
So the Bulldogs have been losing to
huge scalps. Exactly, and it's
in those tiers.
Indeed,
that's why they are where they were.
Yeah, but they've turned it around. They're 7th. They're it is tight. We'll talk about the ladder in just a second, but they're definitely doing all things right. And offensively is the big thing. They've scored 125 points exactly in the last 2 weeks, so that they can score. It's just when they go up against these big sides, are they going to be able to contain a Melbourne or or a Geelong, a few weeks ago. I suppose that's the question mark. But definitely for Dogs fans, things looking more promising than they were, say, 6 weeks ago.
You might have to hit Macca up and get his thoughts on that because, from the outside perspective, it looks very, very much like, hey, there's a bit of extra freedom and clarity there, and the midfield is flowing, and that's leading to points and leading to that offensive capability. So.
After 2 wins, I can give you his thoughts. Hot Dogs, flag in danger. Don't worry, we'll win it from 7th. We've done it before. Buy your grand final tickets, etc., etc.
Yep.
Shout out to our friend and former co-host, Jim McGrath. West Coast, they got a win for their first win in about 8 rounds against the hapless Bombers.
How'd you feel, Mark? Because I think we talked last week, weren't worried to, I am worried, and now in danger having to go into Optus to play West Coast. And yes, what we thought would happen, the West Coast finally healthy, and getting the guys back, and it's showed. They've turned it around, starting to turn around a little bit. Probably a little bit too late, but they've turned.
Of course. Well, they're not playing finals footy, but I don't think they'll be wooden spooners this year. North Melbourne says hi. Yes. We spoke about it a few weeks ago. That they weren't dishing up great footy, but when half your team's unavailable, it's pretty hard. And we spoke about this West Coast side
where reserve grade side not that long ago because of the COVID.
Pretty much, and even then, just outside of the COVID kind of games where they got hurt for a couple of weeks, just so many big name dudes that were hurt, and they're getting pretty healthy now. I think I'll expect them to win a fair few more games as we head forward. Who did well in this one? Goals. Josh Kennedy, 5. Thanks for coming. And
Timeless wonder.
3 for Jamie Cripps and 3 for Willie Rioli. Bombers, 4 goals for 2 metre Peter Wright and Jake Stringer, the package with 3. Dire Straits for Essendon moving forward. Who do they have next week?
Not great.
The only teams that you can really see them pushing at the moment. Yeah, that's not good. They play Sydney next week. And then they go to Brisbane. Oh boy. Then they have Gold Coast at home. Maybe that's a game that they can perhaps push/win. Hard times at Windy Hill, that is for sure. You know where it's not hard times at the moment, baby? Carlton Blues, 81-50. Winners over Fremantle there.
Bit of brouhaha in this one, wasn't there?
Yeah, a little bit of brouhaha. There's been a few brouhahas with Carlton of late. Getting a bit of a name for themselves, maybe.
Grubs.
They, much like the Bulldogs, started very slow in the first quarter. and then ran over the top of Fremantle. I was playing footy ball myself yesterday, so wasn't able to watch live, but did catch the highlights. Sam Walsh, 40 disposals. Thanks for coming. Charlie Curnow, 4 sausage rolls. He has been excellent. He is 2 clear of Jeremy Cameron at the moment in the Coleman race. And with this Brisbane loss the other night, they had been a game ahead of all these other teams now that are in a logjam,
Very close
essentially.
now.
Yeah, on the ladder, which we'll talk about in just a second. Another team that is in that logjam is the Geelong Cats. They had a 3-point win last night over Richmond. One of, if not the best game of the year so far. Geelong sort of had a reasonable lead early on, and then the Tigers just keep coming. Brad Scott said in the post-match presser, you can't think you're on top against the Tigers, because as soon as you start thinking, they just come back. They've been there. They've done that. They've got so much experience in big games, and Geelong were just able to hold them off in Jeremy Cameron's 200th. Now, Monks, if you don't mind just searching for the Tom Stewart shot on Dion Prestia, this was pretty bad. So essentially, Prestia gives a quick handball, and Tom Stewart comes in late and high and makes contact with the elbow to the head. Prestia goes straight down, knocked unconscious essentially. He was able to groggily get up. Is that a word, groggily? He got up.
It is now.
Groggy.
He got up looking a bit groggy after it. Some people are saying, with the stance that AFL is trying to look at and player welfare and concussion and the rest of it, Tom Stewart might be looking at 5 or 6 weeks for this shot. Considering Toby Green can get 6 weeks for
Touching a ref.
for literally accidentally bumping.
How
a ref.
high is the elbow? Oh, the elbow's down though.
It's down,
It's
but
more shoulder.
But no, I don't think it is.
Yeah, it's
oh yeah, okay,
yeah.
yeah.
But it's a shoulder shove, though.
It's shoulder.
It's a bump. What did
Still heavy contact.
What did Danger get? Was it last year?
2.
2
I think.
weeks.
I think was it 2?
Yeah, against
Maybe it was 3.
against that Crows guy.
Maybe it was 3.
Maybe it was 3 weeks.
Yeah,
That's probably the
I
most
think
recent
that-
one I can think of.
I think that's a touch worse. I think it's later.
Well, Danger did break that dude's jaw. Though.
That is true. That is true. I reckon he's looking at 4 weeks minimum.
I wonder who these cats are. I shouldn't say
Yeah,
that.
can we get that off the screen? That's we just had our own live feed of us talking dribble come up on the screen. Not much to look at.
Yeah.
But it does. That Tom Stewart incident doesn't need to sour the performance from the Cats, who fought off a Richmond team who, again, you can never rule them out. You can never rule them out. They started off a bit slow. They knocked off Carlton last Thursday night, and geez, they were a kick away from hunting the Cats down in this one. A game that wasn't as good for the neutral viewer, or nearly anywhere near as good, was Sydney just running rampant over St Kilda. The Pride game up there at the SCG, both teams having some rainbow influence on their jerseys and the 50-metre lines. I did mention the wife earlier in the program. She just said, "Oh, that Isaac Heaney, he's a very good player. He's just always in it." And yeah, he is a very good player, and he's always in it. We could get you here on the Esky to share your thoughts. Heaney, I believe he kicked 3 last night. Papley as well got a bit of it. Have you got the goals there, Max?
Yep, Hanley had 3, Clark had 2, Papley had 2.
So shared. Buddy only had the 1, did he not? Yeah.
Oh,
yeah,
yes,
one for Buddy Franklin. Yeah, interesting to see that Lance Franklin at 1,025 goals has more AFL goals than every single player on St Kilda at the moment, which was pretty nuts. And going back to our chat a few weeks ago, are the Swans too reliant on Buddy Franklin? No, it seems like they can get the job done off the back of their small forwards. So yeah, if Buddy was firing, it could have been even worse for St Kilda. And obviously when it comes to playing elite sides, they'll need Buddy to be up and about and firing and kicking a bag.
I think you'll probably get a rest next week against the Bombers. So you'll probably
they don't need to play. Yeah, they won't need him. They literally won't need him.
Not.
But yeah, Sydney are looking pretty good. Now, this ladder is very, very interesting at present, given the results that we've had so far. It is Sunday at the moment, so we have Adelaide Crows currently beating North, and then the Pies do battle with the Giants, and the Power do battle with the Suns. So it's a little bit unresolved, this ladder. However, every single team in the top 8 has played so far. That was another thing about this weekend.
They played against each other.
Yeah, they were pretty, it was like first versus second and third versus fourth, and it was like a little mini snippet of the finals. So Melbourne hold that top spot. Despite the 3 losses leading into the Brisbane game, so they are on 44 points, a game clear of Geelong, Brisbane, Fremantle, Carlton, all on 40 points. So all within a sniff of that top spot. And then the Swans down there in 6th on 36. And then another logjam of the Western Bulldogs, Richmond, St Kilda and Collingwood. And now Collingwood have that game in hand. So were Collingwood to win this afternoon, they will jump straight into 7th spot. So it's interesting because essentially we've got a logjam for the top 4 and we've got a logjam outside of Sydney, who are a game clear for the bottom 4 of the top 8. It's really starting to take shape. I think lines through Giants, Hawthorn officially. Port, we spoke about them last week. Can they make the finals? Did they start too slow with their 0-5 start? I think probably, but statistically they're only 3 games out. And
do play today against the Suns.
And and that's a massive game as well, isn't it? We spoke about this round and the way that it just worked out. That's 11th versus 12th, and loser. If Port lose, you can start maybe thinking about putting the line through them. And Gold Coast, who have had a really good run of form of late, I think they're 4 from their last 5. If they get a win, they will go up to join all those other teams on 32 points. So it's a really interesting looking ladder, and it's been a good season, and we've got full AFL rounds back after the bye rounds.
So I'm not sure if you covered it, but the Crows have got a 50-point lead on the Roos currently.
It's bad for North, isn't it? That's probably a game where they thought, we can probably get this done. Yeah, they're in Tasmania. We always speak about the Roos, how they go well.
It mustn't be wet and cold.
They go well in Tasmania. Yeah,
one day of sun that they get.
Maybe it's a balmy day. Rich coming from us in Canberra, to be honest. But
it's been quite warm for us, actually.
It doesn't normally rain either.
Has been quite warm.
And the other game's only just started, and GWS are in front 8-3. I'm not sure when the Power and Suns play. Is that later?
It's late game, yeah. It's like 5 o'clock or something. There you go. Can't say I'll probably be that interested.
Tuning in any of that.
Given a big game in another code that we like to talk about is on tonight. Now, before we get to State of Origin, let's just quickly
cover the internationals.
Again, because
I think we made an important point last week with that third one, and it came to fruition. So
we were talking about Papua New Guinea and Fiji, the late game last night. We looked at those squads. We thought Fiji, should comfortably get that job done against PNG. I think PNG only had 5 players in the NRL.
Yep, and PNG had to show, when we were talking about, they have to show that they can be competitive if they want to be considered at all for this future expansion teams.
Yep. And again, I think that's still more noise than...
It is, but results like this is what helps build momentum. Massive. Especially considering I think most of their forward pack are PNG play in PNG. So play in the
Queensland Cup,
but the PNG squad. But they can show that hey, we're competing against a team that does have good NRL talent in it.
Yep.
I think Lachlan Lamb was probably the story.
Excellent.
He was so good.
He scored 2, I think, didn't he?
Yep. And set up Dave Mead for his last game for PNG as well.
Yeah, so he was a skipper and last game for Meady, and they got the job done for him. A massive upset. The Fijians be reeling. We spoke about that Fijian backline. That 1 through 5 for Fiji, it could be anyone's backline really. But obviously the spine and I think just their depth, their forward pack depth possibly hurt them a little bit. The other games kind of went to script. Samoa big winners against Cook Islands, 42-12, and New Zealand
expected in that the game got out of hand very, very quickly.
Although not like 42-12 is a bit of a shellacking, but we see the Melbourne Storm go out and do that to NRL clubs
I think it was 20-0 after 20 minutes.
Yeah,
they might have taken the foot off a little bit.
Took the foot off a little bit, but good, because sometimes in the NRL Internationals you can see the 70-0 kind of score line. So look, they lost by 30 points. It's definitely not a close game, not good viewing, but it wasn't an embarrassment. And considering the size of the Cook Islands, geez.
I'm surprised that they fielded a team, bro.
It's amazing. Yeah, it is amazing. And it's good for the growth of the International Rugby League game. Now, the two best sides that featured yesterday, New Zealand and Tonga. New Zealand pretty comfortable in a 24-6 win there at Mount Smart Stadium. Did you guys see the shots of the crowd? So much red, so many Tongan fans.
Oh, they love it
in Auckland, and a massive expatriate community there in.
It was a massive game
in New Zealand. Yeah,
same when they Samoa played Tonga, they just get around it big time. So. A little bit unfortunate Tonga couldn't stand up to the Kiwis, but kind of just shows the Kiwis still are as talented as they are.
Yep.
And who played fullback for them? The Roosters guy.
Joey Manu played. He played one.
Yeah, he played one.
Yep.
And he was unreal. I think in that for them.
He could be a fullback anywhere. In the only reason he doesn't play fullback is because they've got a guy called James Tedesco. Yeah. And we talk about him being an elite centre.
Well, I think the same was it Fiji, their fullback. Plays behind Dylan Edwards. Is contracted to Penrith, but couldn't get a Guernsey. But I think he had almost 300 run meters and played really well.
Yeah, right. Can you find stats on these games, Monks? Are they on the NRL website? Yeah, good. I was having a little look before, and I was struggling a wee little bit.
So Sunia Taruva
sounds about right.
Taruva,
yeah,
and so he's a Panthers guy that can't get a gig.
Yeah, I think there'd be plenty of Sydney teams.
That might be having a look. And that's another good...
Maybe a Dolphins team that needs a fullback. They've got the Lee Cousins now. That was the news during the week with Branko joining Edric as well at the Dolphins to form part of that back line.
Yeah, and we've spoken at length about how nicely that forward pack's coming along.
They just don't have a spine. They
just don't have a spine. Yeah,
and there's been all the talk this week about the Dolphins haven't been supported. We haven't... I think it's more Gus, shitting over how the Dolphins are recruiting and how they're struggling and all that stuff. And I was just like, maybe you should focus on the Bulldogs at the moment. They're not doing too great either, Gus. But I think
dogs have resurged.
Yeah. I think the Finns overall, I think their pack is going to be good. It's probably what they lack is leadership through the spine at the moment. Though
that all changes if they get a man called Cam Munster.
Though also would be interested to see Matt Burton during the week said he would not do his third-year extension for the Doggies, so he's going to be off contract at the end of next season.
Okay.
So maybe there's an option there if he wants to play six instead of going back to Penrith to be a centre.
And that's a nice segue, I think, into the State of Origin. Obviously, Matt Burton earning a jersey for New South Wales along with a bunch of other players. Now, the game goes over to Optus Stadium there in Perth. The last time Queensland were there it wasn't the result that they'll be after tonight. That was a bit of a wet game, and then they got absolutely pantsed in that one. But mind you, Queensland, they're 16 from 20 when they win game one. So 80% strike rate of taking out the series. So New South Wales have got all the hard work to do. They've definitely got to push shit uphill to try and get this done. Looking at that New South Wales squad, I don't hate it. I think Freddie, he had to swing the axe after losing a game in Sydney where they were highly fancied, and so
that's been the question is do you swing the axe and bring in new blood, or do you
pick and stick?
Yeah, you pick the guys you've got and then try.
Queensland picked and stick in the 8 in a row, yada yada. Yeah, they also had
3, possibly 4 models.
Yeah, four of the best players of all time.
Yeah, who are now coaching the team as well.
Yeah, exactly. in our coach.
But whether you stick with those guys because they've learnt that lesson, and they only lost by a try.
Yeah,
you work on your strategy. You could see what the Queensland game plan was. They're probably going to come with something similar. How do we take that next step and go forward? So
it's interesting. I think a few of them are a little bit harsh.
Yes.
So let's talk about them. So we mentioned Matt Burton. He comes in for Jack Whiten, who was arguably New South Wales' best player. He's had. I think he's actually be better now, but he wouldn't have been able to be in the camp or anything. He would have had to isolate.
So yeah,
exactly. So his hand was forced in that one, and then everything else was pretty much axe swinging.
Yep.
So Stephen Crichton, he was the 14, obviously, in game one, and we kind of thought, oh, geez, is he the best option for New South Wales as a 14? You know, he's a pretty good centre, but does he give you the versatility that other dudes, Nico Hines, might be able to...
Well, even Matt Burton could have been your 14,
yeah,
but I guess they wanted him in the squad. So.
Yep. So he goes in. Tony Staggs gets dropped. I didn't think Staggs was that bad, but...
He just wasn't... He wasn't great.
He didn't look like he looks week in, week out for Brisbane. And we were speaking about how we thought, Staggs has earned himself a jersey here.
But he does that for Brisbane. He started the year real quiet, then he had a good run.
Can go missing a little bit. Yeah, interesting. I think Katoni will bust back into a New South Wales jersey at some stage. He's only young.
Staggs is probably more of... the ball that he gets, like he needs quality ball. He didn't get it in game one.
Yeah.
He hasn't been getting it recently for Brisbane.
Mm-hmm.
That game last week where he basically did nothing, and they had the young fella at 6, Ezra Mann, and then they had Tyron Roberts from the bleachers come down and play 7 without Reynolds. So that's going to limit his opportunities, and he had limited opportunities in game one. So a bit hard done by there, but. I think they've gone, I guess, with more size as well. Staggs is still pretty strong though. Like not. He doesn't have the height that Burton and Crichton do, but
he's solid. He also does people on the regular basis.
Yeah, so I don't know. Maybe a little bit done by there, but maybe that's the Brisbane. It's half side of my fandom coming out there.
Maybe. The old Homer Simpson meme sitting to my left here. Half Canberra Raider, half Brisbane Bronco. An interesting non-selection in Josh Addo-Carr, missing out despite his stellar form. I think he scored 5 tries in the last 2 weeks, 4 tries in the last 2 weeks.
Yep.
So it was really banging down the door, but Freddie's picked and sticked with To'o and Tupu. Luai and Cleary, I don't think they were ever in danger, despite having both of them a pretty ordinary showing in game one. But they've done it before. They've won State of Origins. They've won the whole comp. So I think the idea was to bring in some supporting cast from Penrith. In Api Coruscant, we kind of like it was all rumours last week. We spoke about it last week, but the rumours were true. Coruscant comes in, and Damien Cook keeps his spot as a 14. Now I thought if Coruscant comes in, I didn't think that they would have kept Cook as a 14. I don't hate it. I can see the idea in Appy starting, with his
copied Queensland
with his Penrith. What? No one's ever played it.
Two hookers in a game.
No one's ever played 2 hookers in a game ever. So Coruscant will play probably the first 25, 30, you'd imagine, and then Cook to come on and try to expose some tired legs, and then maybe Coruscant comes back in and they maybe play 2 of them at the same time. I don't know. Cook doesn't give you the size that Harry Grant gives you,
Happy doesn't either. So
exactly. So can you have both of them on the field at the same time? Probably not.
Yeah, I don't think so. I wouldn't think
it's going to be interesting to see how Freddie plays it. Again, I don't hate we were saying how New South Wales lacked that X factor, that explosive kind of player that can cut a game open.
Well, that's the idea with Cook. So.
Yeah, I suppose he's screwed out.
Still would have thought Nico Hines would have been a
screwed out a dummy half. Yeah, I agree. I still think Nico Hines has been, arguably the best player in the comp this year. Yeah. I think he's Origin ready.
Yeah, I wonder if maybe this was a year delayed as well for Api Coruscant because he was in the squad last year. Potentially was going to...
He played game 3 last year as well.
Well, did he?
Yeah, pretty sure.
When did he get booted for bringing that bird into camp that wasn't his wife during the COVID thing? Is that the year before that?
I thought that was last year.
I thought it was last because I didn't think he played after that.
Yeah, I thought he played game 3 last year.
Misremembering. You can figure
actually, I can probably chase that up.
Because, I thought he was, thrown. Maybe that was leading to game 1 and he came back for game 3 after everyone forgot about it.
It's hard as well because we had the 2020 ones, which were November.
Yes.
And then the 2021 ones were regular. See if you can see the State of Origin squads. I swear he played game 3 last year.
Yeah. Yeah. Anyway, it's that Panthers connection. We've talked about it.
When Matt Burton.
Yeah, officially 7. Probably bump that number up to 8.
7.5. Yeah, 7.5 with Matty Burton.
Yeah.
The other changes, Jake Trbojevic coming in, Regan Campbell-Gillard dropped. Maybe a little bit hard done by.
Poor pretenders.
Yeah, well, the poor Parramatta Eels. Ryan Madison got dropped as well for CSC for Talakai. Now, Talakai comes in as a 17. So
that's a head scratcher, I think.
Yeah, it is unusual in that there's only 3 recognised props here in Payne Haas, Junior Paulo and Jake Trbojevic. And of that, only Haas and Paulo really have that big size. Trbojevic is a hard-nosed player, but he's not a massive man. He still gets the job done in his tackling. Have they gone a big man too short here?
Well, he's still a big man.
He could play as a middle forward. He plays in the centres, but he's essentially the biggest fucking centre you'll ever see in your life. I was seeing him getting interviewed on KO this morning. The man has he's just got trap and then head. There is no neck. He's built like an absolute fridge. Although he does play centres, they'll use him as an edge back rower, you'd think.
I agree. I think that's what they do, and they may be looking for some ball playing and bit of extra footwork potentially out of that edge back rower.
Yep. And if worse comes to worse, and one of their big men goes down in a Haas or a Junior Paulo or a Jake T, they may have to ask CSC for Talakai to go right in the middle and nut truck. And I think despite playing centres week in week out, I think he'd probably be up to that.
Yep.
But yeah, it was a head scratcher in that. All of our chat, looking at these Origin teams, we obviously no Latrell, no Tommy Turbo, who's going to get the centre role. We hadn't considered Talakai outside of being a centre. We hadn't really considered him being, essentially they've gone 2 utility players here on the bench, which is an unusual thing to do in picking a traditional 17. Again, I don't hate it. You've seen some of the games that Talakai has been able to put together. That one against Manly where he just looked like, the biggest beast on planet Earth.
Yep.
But yeah, a little bit of an interesting squad. Angus Crichton also the other to come in for Tariq Sims, who also got dropped.
Yeah. So it'd be interesting because I think looking at that, potentially I feel Queensland might have the upper hand in the first 20 purely by size because they've gone big as opposite, especially when you put Tino there as lock, and then you bring Collins on to start with Papali. Like they've got a big squad going up. Haas is really their biggest dude. Jake T, yes, he's going to play prop there, but he's not your typical prop build in that regard. Yeah,
and Cameron Murray and Liam Martin also slightly undersized edge back rowers, although tough as nails. Queensland are a lot bigger in the pack, at least in the starting sides.
And just with the way they've got their bench, I wonder if they're playing more for the legs and the back end. The last 40, last 60 minutes versus the first 20. So we'll have to see whether. Queensland runs in the first two tries within the first 20, and then New South Wales reels them in as they're getting tired, go into the half with an even scoreline.
And pick and stick is what they did. The only changes they made were injury forced. So Xavier Coates had that nasty syndesmosis injury from Origin 1. Now, we had been thinking the hammer, Hamiso Tabua Fido, to come in, but it was his Cowboys teammate in Murray Taulagi to make his Origin debut.
Yeah, a bit of speed maybe, the speedster. But then again, Hammer's not slow.
Hammer's very quick as well, but Hammer doesn't play on the wing week in, week
also
out.
True.
So the other man that we kind of were thinking about was Corey Oates.
Yes, Oates. And he was in the squad, but
didn't make this final team.
He was
I don't hate the selection. Obviously, we didn't pick it. I've won a few multis before Murray Talangi's anytime try scorer, so he's in my good books. I hope he doesn't score tonight anytime. But yeah, a little bit of a left field one there. But again, it's much like picking a lot of Penrith Panthers. Penrith Panthers are doing very well. The Cowboys are playing very good footy, and he's got his just desserts there. Lindsay Collins, you mentioned, he will start prop. He was off the bench in game 1. Tino to 13. Jai Arrow comes onto the bench for Ruben Cotter, who did his hamstring after game 1. I think it was in the
warm up for the Cowboys.
Warm up for the Cowboys Manly game. Yeah, it is. He was quite good in his debut.
Just back on Coruscant. So he was reserved for the first 2 games, came off the bench
In game 3.
in game 3 and scored in the 69th minute.
Okay.
Nice. I remember that. And then I think the stuff came out after. I think it might have been the Origin camp.
No, because I'm
Or do
sure
you
it
think
was
2020.
maybe it was a camp before.
Yeah.
Must
So
be.
he had to work his way back in. So building to that, but obviously Freddie leading those has had that in the back of his mind. Maybe we'll see. He's got to do a job
And
tonight.
you see, when they announced it last week, he was in the sheds with all these Penrith boys, and they're fucking up and about, as you would be. Half of them get to play in the game, and then a fair few of those other boys played in the internationals yesterday for Samoa. So yeah, Penrith Panthers, obviously getting rewarded for playing so well at the
Did
moment.
Stags play in the international?
No, he didn't. No. But I don't think he did he?
He was picked.
Hey,
Did he play? I was playing footy yesterday, so I only saw the highlights of this one.
Doug played for
He did play
Tonga.
for Tonga.
Yeah,
So there you go.
Scored a conversion.
Yeah, there you go. That's interesting. So yeah, look, we
Didn't get picked to play in the international. Yeah.
yeah, but we were talking about it last week. Would Stags play? So he didn't get picked for New South Wales. Goes and plays for Tonga. What does that mean for his eligibility now?
How's the tiers teams work? Is that
Tonga's tier 1 now. So having played that game, does it just make him ineligible for this series, or does it make him ineligible forever?
I don't know.
Fuck, who knows? We won't work it out.
Well,
we will have worked it out by next year if he gets named in the team.
and then the rule will change again.
yeah, didn't is it Ronaldo? He played for
Mulitalo, he played for New Zealand.
He played for New Zealand.
Yeah, scored a try.
After he didn't get picked. He could have played for Australia because of his all that, but yeah, obviously he's gone with no, I can't play Origin, so I'm going to go play for New Zealand.
Yeah, very interesting.
I guess he's more likely to get a run for New Zealand than he is anytime soon for Australia.
Pretty hard backline to break into.
Yes.
That Aussie one, especially when fully healthy. Okay, so I've just put in there, I'll speak about what I think the Blues need to do. Obviously, coming off the loss, that they need to, probably game plan more so than Billy Slater needs to with the Maroons. Obviously, you don't have to be an NRL expert, which we aren't. We are NRL fans. Need to contain Cameron Munster. People were comparing him to Wally Lewis from that game 1. And I think that's obviously we didn't get to see Lewis. We've only seen highlights of Wally. But yeah, from the highlights that I saw and from seeing him in game 1, every time he had the ball as a New South Wales fan, your heart was in your mouth because he just has that ability to break the line wherever.
I mean, anytime he was near the ball, how many times did he strip the ball off us?
Two,
Like
three?
Twice in big moments.
Or twice in big moments, yeah, that's right.
Just keep the ball away from Munster.
Yeah. So how do they do that? That's up to Freddie and the coaching staff and the boys. How you actually do that, I don't know, because he just looks like the best player on the field when he's out there in, pinnacle game of, it's not like you're going up against, the Bulldogs or West Tigers and someone goes out there and carves them up and looks pretty amazing. You're going out there against 17 of the best, players in the world and he's, at times making them look like schoolboys. So they have to contain Munster, and obviously in attack, they were lackluster. We spoke about it in our review of game 1. Everything went through Cleary. They were trying to rough him up and get as much pressure on his kicking as possible. Luai wasn't as involved as he could be. So I think him or Matt Burton or Appy even, need to be able to take their option. And then, Appy needs to be able to maybe kick from dummy half, but at least go left or right and kind of open up Luai and then his backs outside of him. That's the two things that I highlighted that the Blues must do tonight. Maroons probably don't need to change much. They haven't changed a team outside of injury. They got an unexpected win.
So I think.
Are you feeling quietly confident?
Yes, in the sense that I've got a great feeling about the coaching staff, headed there, of course, by Billy Slater. Do what they're not expecting. I think it's the game plan for game 1 clearly was to take Cleary out of the game, was to stifle their kicking options and break up their rhythm, break up their very strict and set structures. So I think with what Fittler's done with cutting a bunch of guys, bringing in new blood, was maybe to free it up and play some more expansive attacking footy. So, maybe to attack what the Maroons did in game 1, but do the unexpected, I think, would be I'm very interested to see what Queensland do through Billy, through the coaching coming into this, what their game plan is, because I think it'll be very different from what it looked like in game 1, and potentially that's where what could be the difference is, come out and surprise the New South Wales squad here a little bit.
Do you think it'll be low-scoring affair?
Origin traditionally is.
And
the last Perth game, not so much. And
it was all one-way traffic, though.
Yeah, and I think they made 6 changes for New South Wales leading into that one as well. So kind of a similar situation. But they lost game 1 in Queensland, so it's slightly different.
Yep.
They had, of course, game 2 at home, and then they won that series.
Yep.
So
total match points 38.5. It is quite low. New South Wales going into this as $1.60 favourites. I feel like it's a bit too short. Yeah, like after, obviously in Sydney they should have been.
They should
have been favourites, but going to a neutral ground, 1-0 down. Yeah, I would have thought it'd just be about even money. Yeah. That scares me a little bit as a Blues fan. Now for the neutrals, for the Victorians who. Well, it seems like any neutral just always goes for Queensland. But for the neutrals, and maybe Blues fans as well, would love to see New South Wales get a win to make sure that...
Sweeping Queensland,
to make sure that there's no dead rubber. Obviously, the dead rubbers in Origin, they still hold a lot of, there's a lot of passion.
There's a lot of
pride.
Being swept is a big thing.
Being swept is a big thing. It doesn't happen that regularly. I think in the 8 in a row, it only happened once. Mm-hmm. I think from memory. So that will be a big thing that the Blues, obviously, that they want to keep the series aspirations alive tonight. Yep. But, that will not want to be – I don't want to hear you talking about a Queensland series sweep.
If they win tonight, I'm bringing a fucking broom next week.
No. Because if they lose tonight, then it seems like you got to go to Queensland. There'll be 50,000 people there. Like it seems like a really tough.
It's a very hard thing.
Tough ass to go out there.
It's not. I think the average win percentage, going the other way is like 60-40 in Origin. So it's still doable.
Of course, very doable.
But there's of course big favouritism being at home with your 90% favoured crowd your way.
Anything there on series sweeps? I'm pretty sure you might be able to get all of them there. I'm pretty sure it only happened once in the 8 in a row.
Yeah. What's the record since 2010?
Making you work overtime.
Yeah. Record most series clean sweeps. So Queensland's had 4 clean sweeps.
Yeah.
The 1988, 1989.
You need your glasses.
Numbers, yeah. 1995, 2010.
It's not like you look at numbers all day, every day.
Excel, I don't have to read them out.
So 88, 89, they swept, and then 95 and 2010. Was that what you're saying? Yeah.
Yeah.
So it happened once in the 8 in a row. Mm-hmm. It's only happened 4 times ever in favour of Queensland. I really hope we're not talking about this much.
Only happened 7 times. Total.
Yeah. New South Wales have done it 3, Queensland 4.
There you go.
Thanking you. That looks more like an Excel spreadsheet there.
Yeah,
easy to read.
Yeah, that's why I was able to get it for you so quickly.
Colour coded. Oh yeah, that one's nice. I'm sure. If you got me to do some Excel spreadsheeting, you'd be laughing at me. I haven't used much Excel of late, I must say. Now, we're not talking about Excel. We're talking about tonight. Obviously, I'm going to go with my heart and not my head. I'm going the Blues, but I'm very nervous. I am very, very nervous. I probably was a little bit lackluster, not lackluster, a little bit
overconfident.
Overzealous.
Yeah, maybe a little bit late. Like I kind of expected them to win game 1 in Sydney, and then I thought it would be hard going to Perth and then Suncorp after that. But yeah, Fittler would have got to rocket up them. They apparently trained very hard during the week. Victor Radley got brought into the squad. We're talking about it. I was kind of thinking, Radley's been earmarked for Origin and forgot he hadn't been playing for fucking over a month.
You see the dinosaurs getting stuck in the Fittler about like what medical news that you have that the Roosters don't have. Why have you picked him? So like,
well, obviously he knows. Yeah. Obviously, everyone's like, oh, Roosters favoritism and this and that. And like, he's a club legend there. Of course, he talks to people.
Yeah, well, same thing with Penrith. So
Exactly. Yeah, Penrith and the Roosters. Like the likes of Tupou and Crichton. There may be guys that maybe were shown a little bit of favouritism. They're also very good footballers in their own right.
how many Roosters in the squad? 2?
It's just 2. Yeah, scroll down. So it's just Angus Crichton and
Tupou.
Daniel Tupou.
Yeah. 10 from his preferred clubs.
Who are also running first and fifth?
I included Matt Burton in that list, but anyway.
Yeah, 7th. Yeah, that's right. So
Technically
nine and a
half.
9.5. Where are the Roosters?
Angus Crichton's in there.
Roosters are currently 9th. There you go.
Crichton is Roosters?
Yep. Yeah.
So add an extra one. There you go.
Yeah, those two Roosters, Tupou and Crichton. Angus Crichton.
Teddy.
Dot.
I was just like, you forget Teddy. Like
3. The captain. I forgot the captain. Wasn't on the screen. Max, you got to be more active here. Got to be more active.
I don't think you played James for you forgetting Teddy Tedesco. Oh my god. Too funny.
Yeah, that's bad. That's bad.
Yeah.
Let's
so 10.5.
Let's cut that from the live.
I'll take
that's a fair bit from the 17.
Interesting. Yeah, maybe there is a little bit of Freddie favouritism.
We'll see. If Freddie loses, do you think his job's in question?
He's
lost 2 of the last 3.
I think always there's a lot of pressure on these Origin coaches. Losing the unlosable series a few years ago, where Queensland, on paper was so inexperienced, and we had this red hot New South Wales team, and Queensland were able to win that 2020 series. I think if they get swept. If they get swept, then definitely, and even just losing the series, there might be a little. There always will be speculation. Yeah. I don't think realistically that they'll sack him over a series loss, but the conversation will definitely come up.
Yep.
Who'd be on the short list?
Great question.
Because we talked before game 1 about. The unlosable series getting out coached by Wayne Bennett, and now after losing game 1 as well, the new era of NRL coaches. The guys that were played in that 8 series. We're talking about Billy Slater's, Cameron Smith, JT, etc. Whereas Brad Fittler's from the era, the decade before then, with Andrew Johns, etc. As that kind of playing group. So whether do they try to look for their equivalent, noting, of course, no one really won very much with those guys, as New South Wales went in that kind of space that they try to look at as a target for a potential. Go with someone with more experience within the more recent modern game of NRL than what Fittler did for his coaching career after finishing up in his playing career and then into his coaching career of that early noughties.
Trent Barrett's looking for a job, bro. He's my boy. His coaching record probably doesn't suggest taking on the one of the most scrutinised jobs in the league. The short list, I think you'd probably have to consider NRL coaching jobs for next year as well.
Well, the Penrith assistant during the week turned down the West Tigers job as well. So
who'd want to take on that shit show?
Very tough.
I think he's got the pick of the jobs available currently, and he's told the Tigers, "No, I'm not interested." So that's step 1.
Interesting. Bring on the game. Go Blues.
Yep.
Queensland. Let's talk some NBA. Okay. Monks, if you wouldn't mind just getting the top 10 picks up there. Going into the week, it was kind of Jabari Smith was the short price favourite to go to Orlando with the first overall pick. And then the odds swung drastically on the day of the draft. Obviously, the bookies always know what's up before we do, the poor punters. And Paolo Banchero, the big 6'10" forward out of Duke, goes first to the Magic. Now, his country there is stated as USA. He's also he's got Italian heritage. He could be eligible to play for Italy internationally. I can't imagine if you're a number 1 pick overall in the NBA.
It depends. It is a hard squad to break into.
Yeah, be interested in. Anyways, we're talking NBA, and I think he's a good fit there for the hapless Magic, I don't think he's got the supporting cast around him at the Magic that Chet Holmgren.
There's a reason they got the number 1 pick. So.
That's true. OKC getting the second pick probably did okay in that lottery. Getting the second pick over Houston and even sort of Sacramento, Detroit. I think OKC's future is in better hands than those teams. Chet Holmgren comes in. He's 7 foot tall out of Gonzaga. A lot of people had him going number 1 overall a few weeks ago. I think for the Thunder, we've got the Thunder jersey up there, the old KD one. We might have to get a Josh Giddey one there.
Yes.
I think with SGA and Giddey forming a good, sort of.
Let's hope it's a big 3.
A good tandem there already. They're young. They're already playing pretty good now. They'll get the help in terms of a big. What about their weight there? 195 pounds. The bloke is a stick figure, and they will need to get him in the weight room, maybe on all kinds of NBA, nutrition and strength and conditioning kind of stuff.
Of that top 10 there, 5 are under 200 pounds.
Yeah, none are 7 foot tall.
Yeah, none of them.
Other than Chet.
Well, there's a 6'5", 6'7", 6'4", and of course the 7-footer. So they're still big human beings.
Of course. But often NBA.
Are you under 200 pounds?
No, I'm about 220. So I'm trying to do the quick maths. Is it an athletic 220? Probably not. Probably not.
Does he have calves like you? That's the question.
Hey man,
probably.
Calves. There's nothing wrong with calves and not having calves, because when we get to the UFC in a little bit, I was just watching that Izzy Adesanya stuff that I sent in the preview. 2 of the baddest motherfuckers ever in the world, in John Jones and Israel Adesanya, no calves. So let's go, no calves crew. Now, Jabari Smith, he goes to Houston. I kind of feel for him they just traded Christian Wood away, and we're talking about it like that trade didn't make a lot of sense to us. I don't think they were getting their value for Christian Wood, who's been very good. So Jabari will go there out of Auburn, 6'10", 220 pounds. I think he's NBA ready. He's also can shoot the 3-ball for a big man. So he's a really good player. I just hope his career doesn't suffer in terms of going to Houston.
Yeah. Yep.
Talking of career suffering, there was some good memes getting around on the guys that the Sacramento Kings have passed on.
Yeah. We'll pick the very next pick after them.
Yeah, so they missed out on
Luka, Klay Thompson.
Yeah, it's a clusterfuck. It's an absolute clusterfuck.
Imagine the team they'd have put together if they got all.
Could you imagine? Shoulda, woulda, coulda.
Oh my god.
It's pretty crazy. Now, another guy who, for his personal sake, we hope that he doesn't go to the Sacramento Kings and his career dies in Keegan Murray, 6'8" forward out of Iowa. And then Jaden Ivey, the first guard to go. So top 4, all big power forwards and a centre. Jaden Ivey out of Purdue, the first guard. Then a couple of Canadians in Benedict Mathurin and Shaden Sharp going with 6 and 7. So Mathurin going to the Pacers. He's a 6'6", 205-pound small forward from Arizona and out of Canada. And then Sharp, the second guard to go out of Kentucky. He's a 6'5", 200-pound guard. It'd be interesting for the Canadian national team. We saw how good Andrew Wiggins was playing in the year. Was an all-star. If these guys shape up to be good Canadian players on the international scene, Canada's never really done that well. So it'd be interesting to see how they go. And talking about internationals, our boy Dyson Daniels, he's was the third guard to go. He goes to the New Orleans Pelicans, 6'7". They've got him listed at there. I've seen 6'8" as well, 195-pounder out of the G League Ignite team. He's out of Bendigo, Australia. I think his old man was over here in the NBL, similar to Ben Simmons.
A lot of them. That's how a lot of them come through. Yeah,
exactly right. So pretty illustrious, company. There's not a whole lot of Aussies that have gone in the top 10. Ben Simmons and Andrew Bogut and Josh Giddey come to mind. Yep. I don't know if there's any more than that off the top of the head. No. He goes to the Pelicans, who with a healthy
Exum? No, Exum went
Yeah,
second.
no, Dante Exum, I think he was first round, but not top 10.
No, he was, more to Bodzabaka first.
Yeah. Get at us in the comments if you're listening, and there is someone else from Australia that went top 10. Now, with Zion trying to get healthy / drop a few kgs, that Pelicans side, obviously bolstered getting McCollum. It'll be interesting to see how much game time he gets and how much of an impact he can be. And if that Pelicans team, with a healthy Zion,
You've picked him at 8. You'd hope he's going to be playing minutes. For
yeah, we'll definitely be playing minutes. I wonder if he does get a start. It seems like to be a pretty good place to land. I think if McCollum keeps playing good ball and
Zion gets all the media,
and Zion comes back.
Yeah, you can just focus on your game, even though you're the first pick for them in this draft. It's like,
And there was a lot of chat about CJ trying to get into Pelicans staffers to try and bring Dame over from Portland. You'd imagine with them drafting a guard, maybe that's not going to happen. Although who knows? The price is if the price was right.
Yep.
Ninth pick, Jeremy Sochin out of Baylor, another forward. He goes to San Antonio, and Johnny Davis, a guard out of Wisconsin. That rounds out the top 10. He goes to the Washington Wizards. Looking at the rest of the draft, it looked like a lot of, we've already mentioned all the bigs going early, and that seemed to be a bit of a theme throughout the first round.
You just look at what's happened with the MVP. The last couple of seasons kind of shows the way basketball's kind of going. The big man that can move and
move and get
rebound,
assists.
get assists.
Yeah.
Like that's big man that can do it all. So
speaking of Nikola Jokic,
how did we forget Longley? By the way, that's
Luke Longley. Yep. Was he?
So
he was a top 5 pick.
Yeah, I think
he was like third overall or something.
I think I got some numbers here. So Luke Longley, 1991, was picked. Seventh overall.
Yeah.
Andrew Bogart picked Bogut.
Not
first.
Humphrey Bogart
Definitely not.
of 1930s film fame.
Yeah. Exum was picked fifth.
Fifth overall. Yeah. Good shout.
Yeah. Simmons again picked first. Thorn Maker.
Yeah. When was Thon Maker? He was
10th
10th
overall pick. So he scrapes in there.
Okay.
Yeah.
I know Paddy was second round.
Yeah, Paddy. Yeah, good on. He's a nice underdog story, isn't he?
Yeah.
Paddy Mills.
I
Canberra's own.
think that's it.
So he missed a few. The only one of note of of one of the best teams ever, fame in Luke Longley, probably the big miss there. But yeah, Exum and Thon Maker also going in the top 10. And also that goes to show as well, just because you're a top 10 pick doesn't mean you go on to have a stellar career in the NBA. It is a very competitive and cutthroat league.
Yeah, definitely. There's only 5 blokes that start every week.
There's only 58 guys got drafted. I think
small numbers.
Yeah, Milwaukee and someone else didn't even draft anyone. They just forfeited their picks. Just good on him. Good on him. He's on an NBA team. Let's hope that it goes the way of a Paddy Mills rather than a Thon Maker.
Yeah. We'll develop and then help out that Australian squad.
Yes.
Push from a bronze into one of those other medals.
There was also another Aussie taken, Luke Travers. He went late second round. If you don't mind scrolling down there amongst to see which team he went to. Further. Yeah. Cleveland. He was a Perth Wildcat. Look at the spelling on Australia there. That's cool. That's from NBA.com. Australia with a I at the end. Australia. Yeah, interesting. makes me feel better about us fucking up names. NBA.com's got our country misspelt there.
They make billions of dollars.
Yeah, thanks very much. Don't have anyone spell checking. Now, this is going to be an issue possibly for our man on the left here, or possibly all of us. So the Heat with pick number 21 drafted Serbian Nikola Jovic. Yeah, so literally the exact same name as the MVP at the moment. other than a V rather than a K. He is also a big man out of Serbia.
Well, one's Heath Ledger Joker, and we'll see what sort of Joker this one is.
Yeah, interesting. Joaquin Phoenix, good Joker. Mm-hmm. Let's hope he's more of a Joaquin Phoenix than a Jared Leto.
Yes.
Jeez, that is ordinary chat. But I also don't mind it. Jack Nicholson, good Joker back in the day.
Yes,
good Joker back in the day. Yeah, we'll be interested to see what he does. And you know, the back end of that first round it's guys that get to go, you know, to good teams. You know how that affects them moving forward. It'll be interesting. Dallas, I think
another big man.
They're worth talking about. They got Wendell Moore. He's a 6'5" forward, so he might be playing as small forward, slightly undersized there, trying to get Lucas some help. We've been keeping an eye on that. And of course, your boy Christian Braun at the 21st pick, Christian of your mum's hot fame. Hopefully he can do well there for the Nuggets. That wraps up the NBA draft and the NBA chat. We probably won't talk NBA now for a little bit. The summer leagues and that will be going. Not too, keep an eye on it. But
if anything major happens, we'll talk about it.
Exactly. Trades. I think trades will be a big thing. We might talk about trades. I think where Bradley Beal is going to end up is a big talking point at the moment. Is Russell Westbrook going to stay at the Lakers?
What did you see Kevin Durant said during the week that if he goes back to, he could go back to Golden State?
Really?
I think he's, I'm
off
mended those fences, mended the bridges.
I'm off that bloke. We've got his jersey up there at OKC, but they're trying to build something there at Brooklyn, and they're the trade and trading away Harden. Maybe that for him was a big thing, and maybe he doesn't want to stay. So
I think the same I think Harden wants to stay at the 76ers. But whether the 76ers want to keep him is another question.
Okay.
Same with who did the Lakers get recently? Did they get someone that could potentially replace Westbrook? Because again, Russell Westbrook. That's another question.
The Lakers.
I think it was,
Don't know. I was going to talk about
your story, man.
Yeah, I was going to talk about Lakers in the summer league.
Yeah.
Lakers signed Sharif O'Neal to play in the summer league. So
he's got a fair few kids as well. So Sharif, the LSU boy. It'd be interesting to see father son. Doesn't happen that often in the NBA. We did see Gary Payton in the finals just then. I'm going to look at this Lakers roster. I'm hoping that I haven't missed anything.
Is there any news? Or maybe it's targets.
I think I think you might have just seen something. There wasn't anything big, I don't think. In terms of Lakers. Anyways, you can chase that one up. We will talk about any big trades in the off season. But that might be about it for basketball for a little bit. Soccer as well. So there in the off season, we spoke about the marvellous efforts of the Socceroos making the World Cup last week. No real big games of note, but the transfer window officially opens July 1, but there's a lot that have already been confirmed. Sadio Mane, apparently I was Sandra Sully with the late news on this one in my soccer chat. It was officially done this week, but had been all but confirmed over the last few weeks. His move to Bayern Munich, and Lewandowski will be on the move. He confirmed at the end of May that he is done at Bayern Munich. Where he ends up is not confirmed. Barcelona seems to be the most likely club, although Chelsea and PSG are also rumoured to be interested in arguably the best striker in the world, in Lewandowski. I'm not a fan of any of those teams. For me, I'd hope that he ends up at Barcelona. I'd hate to see Chelsea pick up Lewandowski as a United fan.
But the storylines though, that's
Big, well, yeah,
Yeah,
it's
in the-
essentially the best
in the
striker in
EPL.
the world. Ending up in the EPL, it'd be interesting to see where he ends up, and we'll keep an eye on it because the transfer window, will really heat up come July 1. So we may have some news in coming pods. As to Lewandowski, Paul Pogba goes back to Juventus. He was a United, got signed young by United and then loaned out to Juventus and was good there, and then signed at Juventus, had many good years there. Went back to United and whilst showed, shades of being, this unbelievable holding midfielder, and set piece legend, probably never lived up to the hype at United. Now, whether that's a Paul Pogba problem or whether that's a Manchester United problem, not really sure. Not really sure on the answer. But he'll go back to Juventus, and
Juventus got done well in this deal as well, because when he transferred back to
they got him very cheap.
Yeah, well,
the first time.
First time they got him essentially for nothing. He went
Sold him for big money.
Yeah, over 100 mil in that transfer, and then he's come back for nothing. So that's how you do it.
Manchester United, look, at least they had a lot of success in the night.
Yes.
And then other sort of big names, you can, if you're a real soccer diehard, go and check it out. There's like literally hundreds of people that have moved already, but I've just highlighted a few big names here. Alexandre Lacazette goes from Arsenal to Lyon, so he goes back to France. Nemanja Matic also leaving United. He goes to AS Roma. So it's two, holding midfielders, centre mids there for United that they'll need to be able to target, you'd imagine, some guys to fill those voids. Ivan Perisic, the Croatian, he goes from Inter Milan to Spurs. So I think he's about 33. He'll have a bit of a role, I think, mentoring perhaps, and playing a little bit, but probably not a long-term kind of player there for Spurs. Although a few years ago, an elite player and just coming off a good season with Inter Milan. Antonio Rudiger, he goes to Real Madrid. Gareth Bale goes over to the Galaxy. Was signed by Real Madrid on big money, and never really sort of showed his talents in La Liga.
Had he been playing somewhere else in America?
Bale,
Bale, between Madrid and Galaxy. I already thought he'd gone back to the US.
I don't think so. Can you chase that one up, please, Monks? You might have seen him in the Welsh jersey.
No, I knew he was Welsh jersey. I thought he'd already gone to America, but I could be misremembering things.
Yeah, I think you're misremembering.
It's okay.
That's okay. And then the two big signings in terms of transfer fees. So everything else has been is undisclosed at present. So we don't really know how much a lot of these guys will be getting, or they're free transfers, as in Paul Pogba.
Yep.
So Darwin Núñez, he joins Liverpool from Benfica. I can't say I'm a big aficionado of Portuguese league football, but he's a striker. They might be looking at him as a possible Mane replacement, and Aston Villa spending big on Philip Coutinho from Barcelona, who is struggling to get a run in that side. So that's a big signing there for the Villains. Yeah, are you looking up Darwin Núñez there? Because I do not know much about him. I can do that.
No, I was just
Paid decent money for him though.
It's big money, big money.
I was just looking at reports that Liverpool's resigned that they might lose Mo Salah.
Wow,
That's big.
Okay.
Yeah, because he's got 12 months left on his current contract.
Yeah.
And I mean, he's one of the best forwards in
probably undoubtedly in the EPL, and then you'd probably have him sort of top 3 sort of striker in the world at the moment.
Yeah, that's it. So whether or not they have the money to keep him, I think.
There's plenty of clubs in those Italian, French leagues, etc. that have got big money.
Throw some cash. Cash. Is there any? Have they named clubs? Real?
No, I don't believe so. I think it's all just sort of just back and forth media sort of beat up at the moment.
Has he played for anyone outside the EPL?
He would have early in his career. He's been like Liverpool is where he sort of cut his teeth in becoming one of the world's best strikers. But I can't imagine. He would have had to been somewhere before then. Yeah. I forgot he was at Roma. He actually played 13 games for Chelsea back in so very intermittently between 2014 and 2016. I had no idea he did that. And then before then, Basel in Switzerland and Al Mokholoun, I imagine, is an Egyptian team. But obviously, over the last sort of 5 years at Liverpool, has become one of the world's best strikers. 180 appearances for Liverpool, 118 goals, pretty good strike rate there for Mo Salah. I tell you what, as a United fan, you'd hate to see him lose Salah and Mane. Yeah. Now, Darwin Núñez, I've just chased him up. He's a 6'2" Uruguayan striker. He's 23. He's had 57 games at Benfica, 32 goals. So he, I imagine, will be...
He's played in the national squad for 3 years as well, which is...
He's got 11 games there for Uruguay, just the 2 goals. He's going to have to replace Mane and, if they lose Salah, he's going to have some big boots to fill. But paid him a lot of money, so they obviously see a lot of potential in Darwin Núñez. Keep your eyes on that name there. That wraps up the big soccer transfers. Like I said, there's literally hundreds. So if we've missed anyone, go check out the list yourself and see if there's anyone worth talking about. Get us here on the Esky. Bit of NFL news.
I guess a little bit of news.
That's pretty big. Gronk's retired now. Is this a little bit of news because he's retired multiple times? The John Farnham of the NFL?
Yeah, exactly. I think it's more, I don't want to go to training camp. I'll see you in November kind of thing.
You reckon? What have you read about this?
He's officially retired again. Mm-hmm. And his agent's already said, pending... if Tom Brady ever needs to make that call and needs him for a playoff run, he's actually Gronk's more than happy to play. And then I've seen plenty of Brady's very, very good on the old Twitterverse as well. A few of his memes is like him picking the phone up, etc. The odds of him unretiring are probably very, very good.
That's an article that I've just clicked on. Let's see what this article reckons. Gronk has been giving plus 135 odds to return to the NFL. So it might be a John Farnham fake retirement.
Yeah. I think for him, it's very much probably rest, health. Don't have to go through a training.
Why retire? Is that all it is? So he doesn't have to go to the training camp.
Well, he doesn't have to do anymore. He's won 4 Super Bowls.
Wouldn't you think if he's going to come back and play for the Bucks, he could just say, "I'm old and I'm banged up and I don't want to train"? Like, surely him and if Brady wants Gronk there, surely that would be enough. I'm just speculating.
Yeah, well, I 100% agree. Like Brady, and that's what I think the thing is. If Brady wants Gronk there, Gronk's going to get the shoulder pads out and grab his helmet and be down at training within a couple.
Literally making TV commercials out of that shit last year.
Yeah, so
fake retirement. Don't need to look into it too much.
That's my thoughts. Okay. But yes, besides that, if he doesn't end up coming back, which we are saying is highly unlikely, he's up there in the upper echelon, if not the greatest tight end of all time. Potentially, you probably got Tony Gonzalez. I think is probably the top there.
Yeah,
I don't think Sharp was good for a very long time, but I don't think with the way post 2000s, the way the NFL's kind of changed, his numbers won't compare nowadays. Jason Witten, long time. Antonio Gates, scored a fuckload of touchdowns, but again, I think you'd pick Gronk over him.
It's what are you going here in terms of career accolades and longevity? You got to go Tony Gonzalez, but in terms of being, doing things that no one really ever did before and absolutely dominating the position. I think
at that size as well.
You can talk about Rob Gronkowski.
Yeah, maybe Kels will take that role going forward. Probably needs to win a couple more Super Bowls and got a good chance to do that. But the transition eras, we've just named like every great tight end that's kind of gone from one to the next to the next. Now it's Kels. See how long he goes and whether Kittle Pitts maybe the next lot. Who knows?
I'm sure your fantasy team will be hoping Kyle Pitts goes that way, although you can only keep him for a couple of years in our league. So
well,
there you go.
Yes.
Maybe he cuts his teeth in the league, and then Pepe or Monkey picks him up, and he starts going bonkers in year 3 or year 4.
Yeah. But looking at a list, I don't think Tony. How many Super Bowls did Tony win?
0.
Yeah.
Yep.
And Gronk's got 4. Davis might have got 1. Did he play? Olsen didn't get any.
Vernon Davis.
Gates didn't get any.
Yep.
Witten didn't get any. So and that list of tight ends you got there, big names. There's Gronk's head and shoulders above those guys.
I didn't think this was going to turn into a tight end GOAT conversation, but I'll throw my 2 cents in.
Well,
I think he is.
Yeah, if
I
you're
think
talking
he
career
is.
accolades,
I think he is.
And we taking a year off.
And we caught the end of Tony Gonzalez's career when we were getting interested in the NFL. Again, what are your metrics? Is it the most destructive tight end in his peak, in his heyday, and most winningest tight end?
Yeah.
You got to go Gronk. But if you're looking at a guy that consistently put up
1,000 yards,
1,000 yard years and had the longevity, you can argue for Tony Gonzalez. But I agree. I think Gronk is the best tight end of all time.
Yeah.
Again, recency bias. We didn't really follow the NFL in the 90s, so everything that we've seen is highlight kind of stuff. And then before that, we weren't born.
Yeah. Guys like Sharp and Gonzalez very much changed the league in the way of, hey, we need pass catching guys that can move.
Exactly, yeah.
And that's why Gronk was a huge target that could move. And then, all those other guys, Antonio Gates, etc., they all came through in that next generation from that. So
Gates, red zone. There's an argument. But I think it's pretty unanimous for me.
Yep.
I think he's the GOAT of tight ends.
Yep.
Any stats or figures there that we should know about?
There's probably a few Steelers tight ends, etc. that have won Super Bowls.
Steelers, you got Gross in there.
Yeah.
So you're just looking here at
These are just
Super Bowl
Super
wins.
Bowls. Yep.
So you got I was shitting on Sharp a little bit. Yeah, he played in 3.
Yep.
But
look at the numbers.
Yeah.
Look at the numbers.
Yeah, exactly.
So at the moment we're looking at Super Bowl winning tight ends and how many they've been there. Gronk's numbers shit on everyone in the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Literally, no one's even close. Jay Novacek
He's still 200 yard short. So.
is the closest there. I've never even heard of him. He must have just shown up for Super Bowls. He won 3. Cowboys Super Bowl winner. So he must have been around in the 90s. Yeah, there he is. There in the 90s. Okay, so if we're talking about Super Bowl GOATs, he can be second there, but his career statistics were nowhere near it. So, that's just interesting in tight ends, winning Super Bowls there. Mm. But, in terms of overall best player of all time at that position, I think the Esky boys got to give it to Rob Gronkowski.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
UFC 276 will be the main theme for our final round. Ding, ding. Okay, boys, is this the best card in recent memory? If not...
this year?
Definitely
if not
this year.
Ever?
Yeah, I'd say pretty close to it.
Okay, 4th of July.
We had one card that had 3 title fights on it, didn't we?
Yeah. Was there 3?
Yeah, I think it was 2 dudes and one chicks. I can't remember.
Maybe, yeah.
But either way, this is stacked card.
Stacked. 4th of July, long weekend in Vegas. They always like this being one of their premier fight cards for the year. Obviously, long weekend over there in the States. And for us down under, this neck of the woods on their little sort of blue and green marble that floats around the sun, this neck of the woods. There's 2 title fights featuring fighters from Oceania. Of course, I'm talking about Israel, the last style blender, Adesanya, and Alexander the Great Volkanovski. A couple of Seans mixed in too as well. A few SEAN Seans on this stack card. So we'll start with the title fights, and we'll talk about the middleweight title. Israel Adesanya, the champ, going up against Jared the Killer Gorilla Cannonier. He is ranked 2. Sean, your thoughts on this one?
Doing UFC maths, which is never a great idea. But
us doing maths on this podcast, also not a great idea. So I'm interested to see what you say here.
Well, the common component being Whittaker in this one, and Robert, of course, beating Cannonier not that long ago. And Cannonier only really beating Bronson and Gaslam since is, he has the presence and the physique.
Definitely the physique.
But
that bloke is huge.
Yeah, but
fucking huge.
Monster.
But I don't know if he's got what it takes to get past Israel.
Yep.
I think the Stylebender is the more talented and more complete fighter out of the two. It'll be interesting to see whether the size is an issue, but then you think of Romero and Costa, etc. Also, massive human beings that, the jungle juice potentially as well.
Are you alleging?
Not alleging anything. I'm just saying they like some juice with a bit of extra spice. But either way, he's fought those guys with big size and won. So I don't think that's going to be too much of an issue. So you got to beat him more with talent and technique, etc. I'm just not sure if Cannonier's got that in that regard.
And he's going up against arguably the best middleweight fighter of all time, a dude that's never lost at 185 pounds in Izzy. And he's going to have his weight cut out for him, and I'm sure he is an underdog in this one. This is going to be the 5th title defence now for Izzy. It's starting to get up there for title defences. More on Cannonier. So he is 15-5 in MMA record. He started his UFC career at light heavyweight, so that's why he's got that massive frame. But he is 6 foot tall, whereas Adesanya is 6'4". So obviously very different builds. The question is going to be: is can he take him down? If he can take Israel down? With the wrestling background, that's probably the only fear moving forward.
But we said that about all those other guys I just mentioned before, and no one's really been able to do it besides Jan. But then Jan had 30 pounds on him by the time that fight started. Easy. So it's a different ball game, I think.
So you're backing Izzy in for the win here?
Yeah, I'll go Izzy.
I'll go Izzy too. Monks, you had the odds there. He's pretty short priced.
Yeah. I can't go past Izzy at $1.24. Cannonier is $4.10 at the moment.
What's is there any under overs on rounds? Because I think Izzy's last 5. No, sorry.
You're looking at
I got Cannonier here. I think Izzy's gone the distance a lot.
He went the distance for Robert, and his last one lost early in the third. No, did he go the distance with Jan? I think it got stopped, didn't it, against Jan? No, he went the distance. Distance.
So distance.
Stopped.
So and when he belted Paulo Costa, that got stopped in the second round. So 4 of his last 5 have gone the distance. Just the Paulo Costa fight.
Yeah,
he got pissed on the red wine the night before. Apparently,
yes.
That's it. I guess call it the over-unders for this one. $1.86 that will go the distance.
Okay.
Yeah.
Jeez, there's shit odds there. $1.86 yes, $1.83 no. Unofficial sponsor Sportsbet really patting their pockets with that market, aren't they?
Yep.
Next one?
For Aussies, probably the big one. The trilogy between Alex the Great Volkanovski, the current champ, against the number 1 contender, Max Holloway. These two have had a few wars already. Volk's 24-1 in his MMA record, undefeated since joining the UFC. His only one loss was 10 years ago, something crazy like that. It's his 4th title defence, so we spoke about Izzy going for his 5th. 4th one here for Alex, 2 of those against Max.
And he won the belt against Max,
Yep, and then Ortega, so this will be 4. So he won against Max, then defended against Max. That was the Fight Island one, where a lot of people had scored Max winning that one. Then he had the Ortega one where Ortega nearly choked him out and then miraculously was able to survive and beat him that one. That one went the distance as well. And then he had the Korean zombie sort of one-sided demolition, which was only 3 months ago.
So that's 4, and this will be his 5th defence.
This will be 4th.
You just counted it off?
No. So the first one he won the title. So it's not a defence. It's not a defence.
Oh yeah. No. I thought he was counting up 4 defences. So
this will be the 4th defence.
Yep.
Because the first time he won the belt
Yes.
We're on the same
Yep.
page.
Yes.
Okay. He's been training in Auckland with Izzy at City Kickboxing, sort of jumping in between Australia, New Zealand, and the US. Now,
Well, that's the big fighting camp.
Yep.
All the other Aussie boys are there as well, and the Kiwi boys. So yeah, that's the big camp.
What about Max? Do you think he has a shot here? Obviously, a lot of Max fans thought he was robbed at Fight Island there.
Well, a lot were saying he was the greatest featherweight of all time before, Volk came along and took that belt, and he's arguably, he's number 2 in that division behind Alex. They've made that quite clear with their resumes and with their recent activity that is the case. So hence why they're doing the trilogy. Both have great records and great history. So yeah, I think either way, it's going to be another barn burner of a fight. Yeah, I don't know. That style of Max of high volume and to build damage. Volk has had the game plan in the previous 2 fights to deal with that. It's not worried about the cardio aspect of those fights.
Neither of these guys are. They're both cardio machines.
Yeah, exactly. So, even if they're going to push the pace, they're going to have to push it to a superhuman, unreal area for either of them to get tired in this. I don't see that happening. Potentially another 5-round war incoming, and we'll see who's standing by the end of it.
Holloway's last 6 fights have gone the distance, which is pretty crazy. One of the most prolific strikers in UFC history. So this one, wouldn't be surprised if it goes the distance. And then, if Holloway does beat Volk, they have to run that. You have to run it back.
Just keep rolling it.
Yeah.
So I think there's chat for Alex if he wins this that he might get a champion v champion. So, which would be
going up or going down?
Wait,
I don't know. I'd say it makes more sense to go down for Alex, but that's still hard.
But he's only short. Like he's only 5'6". He could go down and then fight. But as Aljamain Sterling probably, he hasn't cleaned out the division.
Yeah, well, I think
Volk has.
But I think it's this Henry Cejudo talk. Like if Henry wins that belt,
okay.
Considering he's coming back and. I saw rumours of a champ v champ fight. Charles has probably cleared out that division, so maybe that's the case there.
Yeah.
But Alex will be giving up a lot to come up. Like Charles is a big dude for lightweight.
Yeah, it'd be hard. It would be hard for him to go up. You could see him going down. It'd be interesting if Holloway loses, and he's. You can say what you like about the fight at Fight Island, baby. Holloway was unfair in that one. Does he get another chance, or do they say, sorry, 3 is enough, you didn't get the win?
Well, there's no one left in that division. You go all the way down to 6, and Alex has already beaten all those dudes.
Yeah, true.
And none of those dudes have probably beaten Max. So,
yep.
It's just the state of where that division's currently at the moment. Hence why I think there's a chat about champ versus champ fight.
Yeah, it'd be interesting.
Yeah, because I think Max will go away, can beat 1 or 2 of those guys easily. Well, not easily, but beat those guys, maintain his number 1 spot, and they got to run that back. They'll keep going until one of them dies.
Jesus. Retires.
Yeah.
Retires.
Yeah, exactly. 10 plus fights against each other.
Retired.
Jesus Christ.
Well, I'm saying they could spend the next 5 years just going back and forth. It could be they need someone to step up in that division to really push their case. And Alex has beaten all the other dudes, and Max has beaten all those other dudes. There's no one really there.
Volk versus Holloway, 50 in the nursing home. Ends in death.
That's it. Well, is there anyone in lightweight that you could see probably jumping down to?
There was chat about Josie Aldo as well, potentially coming back up.
Aldo's not that old as well. I think because he experienced so much success at such a young age. I think we've spoken about it on the pod before. You kind of think he's older than he is. Jose is 35. Yeah, so it's like he kind of feels like he's a bit older than that.
Yeah, and whether he's stuck in bantamweight and comes back, but still, he comes back up to featherweight, but he's still, he's middle of the pack currently in the bantamweight division. They're at 3rd. So TJ's been booked against Sterling. So that was the news. Pillashaw's got
Which
that.
is good, yeah, because that was who Sterling called out after his win. He wanted Pillashaw.
Yeah. So and then Yarn, whether there's a Yarn Aldo fight there, I'm not sure. But yeah, he's still in that spot. Whether he comes back up.
So cool, as obviously as Aussies, and talking about Izzy, Aussies like to claim New Zealanders as well. But to talk about two guys, that are clear kings of their divisions, just cleaning them out. It's going to be a cool card. Obviously a big draw card for the US viewers. On July 4 long weekend, but obviously a lot of interest here in UFC 276. Now, the non-title fights, this card is stacked a long way down, so we won't fully preview, I don't think, all of these fights. Just mention them. Yep. So middleweight also sees Sean Strickland, who's the 4th overall. He's been around for a very long time, taking on unranked Alex Pereira out of Brazil. Mm-hmm. Strickland has 16 fights in the UFC. He's 25-3 overall.
Long-term
UFC. Record, long term in there, and Pereira, I think, has sort of been fast tracked after some pretty impressive performances so far.
Is Pereira the one that does all the spinny shit?
Yeah, he does. He does do a lot of spinny shit and flip.
Just making sure my memory is right.
Yeah, that's the one. It can be hard with some of the Brazilians.
So I think that's actually
there is so many of them.
Potentially a slight step up for him in making it onto the pay-per-view. I think he was the 5th fight on our pay-per-view, and most of his other stuff has been prelims or lower than that. So
it's impressive. It's considering all the names on this card that he's going to get the third.
Considering Robbie Lawler is on the prelim.
Women's flyweight sees third ranked Lauren Murphy taking on Misha Tate. Misha Tate obviously has been around for a long time. She was fighting in bantamweight and she's coming down to take on Lauren Murphy. And then a really cool fight in bantamweight. Pedro Muniz, the 10th ranked bantamweight, taking on Sugar Sean O'Malley.
He's a big stocky dude as well.
Who finally...
Sean O'Malley,
finally has his ranking. Now, Sugar Sean, he doesn't have a victory over a top 10 opponent.
Hasn't faced one yet, I think it's the main
thing. Marlon Vera, the one where he didn't lose.
Yeah,
he didn't
I beat myself, etc.
Yeah, exactly. So his actual only loss in the UFC was to Marlon Vera, who is currently ranked 5th, I believe. So Sugar Sean, we've seen him demolish, a lot of his opponents. Some really cool finishes. He's got that flamboyant, crazy style. You don't know what he's going to throw at you. This will be a fun fight, and if he wants to be a serious contender in the bantamweight division, he needs to start beating guys that are ranked higher than him.
And just looking at that list, like Robbie Lawler, Jim Miller, and Donald Cerrone on there.
Some absolute legends.
Jurassic Guy, Brad Travis. There's a lot of big names.
Even in the early prelim card, this is one of those ones where you probably just turn on the free stuff and watch it, early on Sunday
6 hours of fight.
Sunday morning, next week. And Brad Riddell as well. He's a Kiwi that fights out of City Kickboxing. He's on that card there against Jalen Turner. There's a lot of fun fights that will be underway, and for us Aussies, I suppose we hope that Volt can defend this title again. But looking forward to catching some good fights next week.
Definitely.
That Misha Tate fight's cancelled.
COVID?
Yeah. Undisclosed.
Injury maybe. Given. So what's the replacement? Have they said?
It doesn't look like there's a replacement yet.
Interesting.
They have to do 5, so they'll bump one of the others up, and probably looking at
probably
Lawler or the
Barbarena.
welterweights for Jim Miller and Donald Cerrone because they're well known.
Well, yeah, they're both like old heads. Like Jim Miller got the most fights in the UFC. I think we might have spoken about that
potentially.
Before. I'll see if I can chase that one up. I feel like I might have heard that before. Jim Miller is 38.
That's breaking news too, by the way, James. That happened 2 hours ago.
Nice. Double breaking news on this one.
I'll give him some credit. You just had I'm just seeing if there's nothing about replacement yet. So
no.
The other story that goes with that was Robbie Lawler was surprised he'd be on the prelims. Bobby Green was meant to fight Jim Miller instead of
that's
so
right.
Cerrone's stepping in late.
Yeah.
Which is pretty well known for his career.
And
that's why it's at welterweight.
And Jim Miller does have the most fights in the UFC.
Yeah.
So I'd say either that or Robbie will get bumped up into that 5th spot.
Some awesome fights. Can't wait.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Heaps good.
Do you want to wrap up the final round with some just looking back at the weeks that were in the F1 and the golf, the Canadian Grand Prix? We previewed it last week on the island, the middle of the St. Lawrence River there in Montreal. How did the race unfold, you boys, my F1 aficionado friends?
Yes, I don't want to say dominated, but it was. Like Red Bull, Max Verstappen continues to dominate, wins yet again in this race. Carlos Sainz challenged him throughout the whole entire race, finished within a second of him to end that. Just couldn't get the job done to get the win there, which is unfortunate for Sainz because I don't believe he's had an F1 win currently. But they're knocking down the door. Charles Leclerc started last. We talked about that with his engine. Yes, I don't think he did any qualifying with that, having to change out the engine with the short turnaround. So he started last, finished 5th. So a really good result for him. So Lewis Hamilton and George Russell continuing that good form for Mercedes, getting themselves back in that Constructors' Championship, finished 3rd and 4th. Lewis finally out-finished his teammate in this. Russell keeps his streak of top 5 finishes alive. Mr. Consistency has been noted there. But they both reacted well, I think, to the new setups in the car for the Mercedes. So it's looking competitive. They do have a long way to try and catch up to the leaders if, say, Lewis wants to chase that 8th championship. But, yeah, that was kind of the story there. Ocon, Bottas, Zhou, Alonso and Stroll rounded out the top 10. Our boy Danny was unfortunate in 11th, but he did beat his teammate in Lando who finished 15th. So McLaren kind of a very up and down at the moment. They'd want to be competing with Ferrari, but just not doing it at the moment. The other the big three teams are ahead, and they've unfortunately stuck in this one. They were behind Alpine and Alfa Romeo, with all 4 of them finishing ahead of the McLaren drivers. Perez, Shui, and Tsunoda didn't finish in this one.
That's 6 on the trot now for Red Bull. I'll get the constructors' standings up. They must be pulling further and further ahead. 304 to 228 for Ferrari. So, again, it's a long season. We're only just pushing up to the halfway point of the season going into Silverstone. But, they're definitely consolidating that lead, aren't they?
Yep. So what was the Gasly news? He's re-signed?
He's re-signed with AlphaTauri, staying through for another season.
Yeah, in that Red Bull system. I think there's some news during the week. They've actually finally announced the Red Bull Porsche. What would you call it? It's not a merger, but it's a
partnership.
Partnership, that's the word I'm looking for. I think the breakdown of that partnership is what's going to be the interesting going forward. Is it 50-50? Are they going to have, Christian Horner's been there at the helm for a very long time. I assume he will stay the case. But whether he gets a Porsche counterpart and how much say he has going forward, or she has, I don't want to put the Williams, of course, there. So, I won't be too biased in that regard. How that all kind of fits in with that agreement going forward. So, Porsche getting in, not too far away for Audi as well. It looks like going in there to compete with Mercedes.
There's also rumours that Honda, who current manufacturers engine
for Red Bull,
manufacturers for Red Bull, who were pulling out of F1, which has forced Red Bull to start manufacturing their own.
And they're about a year away from being fully set up to do that.
They potentially will be returning to F1.
So what would happen there?
Would there be an engine supplier?
Not sure.
Surely they would if they're a direct competitor.
Very, very early stages. I literally just heard it as rumor mill stuff.
And it's for 2026 is the rumor.
So that's when
all the
Audi,
rules
Porsche, they're all entering in as well.
Okay. Yeah.
So, yeah.
Because that's
be
the new
gearing
rule
up.
set. So the idea is that gives the companies enough years essentially to start working on building the cars to those rule sets, so that they can be competitive when they come in from day dot. Because they don't want to. They're not like an expansion team that just comes in and wants to lose for the first 3 years.
Yeah,
you know,
they
these
want
are
to be competitive straight up.
yeah, exactly. So that's what they've all targeted the 26th, the 2026 as that year they all join. Yeah, and well, with Ferrari, I think is currently supplying Alfa Romeo and Haas. So there's plenty of teams because I don't think Renault still is only doing themselves now. I don't think they're supplying any of the other teams currently. Mercedes are supplying McLaren and Red Bull, of course, still with Honda, and then will take over their own. So whether one of those guys that with the Ferrari engines go to Honda, who knows? I think that's the main thing. I don't think Honda's going to come in as a full solo-owned team in there, but they do have capability to add, I think, 2 more teams. 26 cars, I think, is the total that they can run in a race. In their current rule set, 12 teams is the max they can have in a season. So.
Okay.
Yeah, so that'll be a big change to F1, but of course that's 4 years away.
Yeah.
We'll talk about it more when we get closer.
Wonder if
In 4 years' time.
wonder what our podcasting abilities will be. Hopefully they're a little bit more improved.
Yeah.
And
Finishes with
so Matt Fitzpatrick has won himself a major by winning the US Open. We were going into the 4th day there. The conditions sort of held up okay. We thought that even might have got you home, but no, you had to shoot under. It's his first major. He beat out world number 1 Scotty Scheffler, and also Will Zalatoris, a poor fella, loves a bridesmaid. That's the 3rd time now that he's come second in a major. After finishing second in the PGA Championship this year and second at the Masters last year. Now,
Unrecky.
For Zalatoris, he's 25. I think his time will come. You'd be pretty lucky to not win a major after going 3 times, finishing second. And Matt Fitzpatrick, he's only 27. He's won his first major after winning 8 on the European tour, and a little bit of a resurgence for some of the British golfers heading into the British Open. Rory McIlroy, he's been playing better golf, so that they'll have a few guys that will sort of fancy themselves to win at home. We've got Wimbledon coming up as well to talk about tennis, and I'll just chase up the British Open start date.
Speaking of British, we didn't cover it, but the F1, the next week's race is in Silverstone.
Yeah, I think we mentioned
big race coming up. Home race for both multiple drivers but Lewis and George, the 2 big ones at the moment. Knocking down the door for a potential win. Yeah, hopefully Lando McLaren can get back in the fight, but we'll see.
All happening in the English summer.
Got India over there.
Yeah, exactly. The cricket.
All the sports in England at the moment.
And July 14 is the start of the British Open, so we're still a couple of weeks off. That will conclude today's episode of On The Esky. Thank you to those that have joined us for the whole thing. Special shout out to you. It's a lot of dribble, we understand. And hopefully you've enjoyed today's ep. We will keep running eps moving forward. I'm expecting a child sometime soon, so hopefully I don't have to leave mid-ep, but there may just be a few weeks where we're off the airwaves for a little bit. Moving forward, yes. But yeah, if all things go to plan, we should be back here next week. Talking and dribbling. Thank you for the support. We appreciate it. Hope you're having a good week. If you're listening to this on Spotify, on the tools, in the office, wherever you are, hope you're doing well. We'll see you next week.
Goodbye.
Cheers. Bye.